Hello, everyone. It is Ray again. I am filling in for Cindy, my mom. Tonight, we are going to start going through the FBI vault files connected to Sandy Hook. And I want to set expectations right from the start because I think that's important. A lot of people hear FBI files and immediately imagine some giant secret dossier filled with smoking gun revelations and hidden confessions. That is not what these documents are. What these files actually show is the paper trail, the bureaucracy, the intake process, the federal coordination, the interviews, the forwarding of information, the records requests, and communications between agencies. And yes, the many, 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 many redactions scattered throughout the files. What makes these releases interesting is not necessarily one single explosive page. It's the overall structure of the investigation itself. What was documented and what wasn't. What categories appear and heavily protected. What information was publicly released versus withheld. Tonight, we'll be walking through the FBI's initial involvement in the case, early investigative coordination, early or interview related material, federal records and communications, timeline references, public tips and submitted information, and the heavily redacted sections throughout the release. Now, to be clear, the stream is intended for commentary and document review and is discussion based only, based off of entirely public available records. And I linked them in the description this time. So if you guys want to check them out yourselves, you can. There is 1,600 pages of documents within the FBI vault itself. So it is quite a lot, and I'm not sure if we are going to get to all of it tonight. I think the first document, the part one itself is 535 pages. So we will try our best to get through this, and I will have to read some of it because Speechify will not read all of the redacted pages, but that's okay. We will make it work. Let me bring up my screen share. Hi, Joshua. I am locked in. Or I'm trying to be. Okay. There we go.
Minus 2.
It's already trying not to read it.
For information of New Haven, on December 14th, 2012, FBI New Haven was contacted by the Newtown, Connecticut Police Department, who requested immediate assistance with an active shooter who had entered an elementary school and opened fire, injuring and killing students and school faculty. Specific information concerning the incident is as follows: unclassified. 4NH-2,600,000.
This is one of the pages that it's not going to read. It says Adam Lanza, the shooter, has been identified by blank as autistic and had a personality disorder. At this time, Adam Lanza appears to be the sole shooter. This is all redacted. Nancy Lanza's status has not been confirmed. However, the female victim at 36 Yogananda Street resembles Nancy Lanza. Chronological details of the shooting are as follows. At 9:40 p.m. or a.m., initial call in to Newtown Emergency Services 911 was received from Sandy Hook Elementary School, Newtown, Connecticut, that shots had been fired within the school. As of 3:10 p.m., there were a total of 27 dead, 20 children, and 6 adults, not including the gunman. The gunman was described as a 20-year-old white male wearing combat gear with ties to New Jersey. He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A Bushmaster long gun and 1 Glock pistol were recovered at the scene. As of 1:05 p.m., as an unidentified gunman was discovered at the scene with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Witness reports confirm 1 shooter. A vehicle associated with the shooting had Connecticut license plate. The vehicle was registered to Nancy Lanza. And this is the description of the vehicle. This is redacted. Adam Lanza. Adam Lanza had no criminal background. Nancy and Peter Lanza were divorced as of 2009. FBI New Haven provided an update indicating that ATF went into the 36 Yogananda Street address with a robot. The first floor was clear, but the second floor bedroom of 36 Yogananda Street contained a deceased female believed to be Nancy Lanza with a gunshot wound to the head. The identity of the deceased female had not been confirmed.
As of 2:41 p.m., FBI New Haven confirmed that Adam P. Lanza was the shooter. B2 billions, -2. Department. As of 2:58 p.m., unknown. Was being interviewed by Newtown police involvement in this incident is BB-2. BB 2 billions B. B.
This page is too redacted as well, so I'll just finish it. As of 2:41 p.m., FBI New Haven confirmed that Adam Lanza was the shooter. Blank was being interviewed by Newtown Police Department as of 2:58 p.m. Involvement in this incident is unknown. As of 3:10 p.m., the following weapons registered to Nancy Lanza are unaccounted for. I cannot read some of those, so I will zoom in. Adam was a functioning autistic with a personality disorder and was a recluse. As of 3:34 p.m., FBI New Haven indicated that the residence at 36 Yogananda Street was cleared by bomb technicians. The house was very clean. Ammo and guns were found as well as Adam's computer. The hard drive was severely damaged and was removed and left near the tower. Additionally, Connecticut State Police received a telephone call from a woman who claimed that her son was playing Call of Duty Black Ops with an individual who told him to watch the news tomorrow. This lead is currently being worked. FBI New Haven is coordinating with FBI LA regarding. Therefore, it is respectfully requested that this matter be opened and assigned to SA blank. That's all redacted. So is that. Blank date of birth, social security number, cellular telephone number, was interviewed and task force officer after being advised of the identity of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, provided the following information. This is so great, guys. Federal grand jury subpoena number issued by the United States District for the District Court for the District of Connecticut via facsimile. I don't know how to say that. You are commanded to appear in the United States District Court at the time, and who it is redacted. Proof of service. I declare under penalty of perjury that this information is true. On December 15th, 2012, special agent served blank federal grand jury subpoena number issued by the United States District Court. A lot of these are subpoenas. Okay, here we go. To document email, LinkedIn account, and criminal background regarding blank. Enclosed are the following items: email, LinkedIn account, blank criminal background. Special agent received an email from special agent regarding follow up on a possible fraudulent Facebook page created by blank in the name of Adam Lanza regarding caption investigation. Essay was requested to positively identify blank, namely personal identifiers and current residence location, after which send a lead to the appropriate FBI division to conduct an interview of a search on LinkedIn revealed blank is blank. Fraudulent Facebook page to the present. Essay was advised by Essay to not send a lead for blank to be interviewed until. Ooh.
Subject FW, follow-up on Facebook account found by USMS, is interested in pursuing obstruction or any other potential charges against who created a bogus Facebook page in the name of after the shooting took place. This action caused investigators to B-1, to waste several hours, and took law enforcement away from other important work, B1424, and inquire about his intent accordingly. We are requesting that an immediate lead be set for Seattle to interview in creating the Facebook page and any potential links to. Everything we know about not much in the email below. If you can get someone to find more info on him and then cut the lead, that would be great. Once we have the name of an agent in Seattle, we will send a list of questions. We are working on more specific questions now. Thanks to Friday, December 14th. Sent Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Sent Saturday, December.
There are a lot of subpoenas in here. That is so wild to me. Okay, here we go. Blank date of birth and blank date of birth of Sandy Hook, Connecticut, home telephone number and cellular telephone of were interviewed at their residence after being advised of the identity of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview provided the following information. Blank moved to blank years ago, and the blank used to have Nancy Lanza and her sons Adam and over every year, and the blank was in holy hell. When Adam Lanza was in ninth grade, Nancy told blank that Adam had hacked into a government computer system. Adam had made it through the second level of the security, and when he tried to breach the third level, the screen went black, and the authorities showed up to Lanza's door at 36 Yogananda Street. Nancy believed that the authorities that showed up at her door were either FBI or the CIA. Nancy had to convince the authorities that her son was just very intelligent. Oh my goodness. And was challenging himself to see if he could hack into a government system. The authorities told Nancy that if her son was that smart, he could have a job with them someday. Adam was always a troubled kid and was interested in Japanese techno music. They never met the father. They had thought blank, blank, blank. Worked at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Oop. Nancy got all her money from the divorce. Nancy had season tickets to the Boston Red Sox and attended many games. Nancy was a gun nut. Nancy got into a verbal confrontation about Nancy's fascination for guns. Nancy told blank that she loved the feeling and the power of a gun in her hand. Blank would have their neighbors over for drinks or dinner parties, would leave invitations invitations in all of their neighbors' mailboxes for one particular party. Nancy never RSVP'd, and when asked Nancy why she never responded, Nancy told blank that because there was no return address on the envelope, she had thought there was anthrax in it. Wow. Nancy had Nancy never let anyone come into her home. If one of the neighbors was picking up blank Adam, Nancy would tell them to wait in the driveway. Nancy had her clothes custom made by blank woman on blank in Newtown, Connecticut. Nancy was friendly with this woman. Blank had thought the woman's name was blank or something similar, believed to be called blank. Newtown, Connecticut. Nancy was also friendly with blank who owned. All of that is redacted. Blank heard about 2 to 3 shots fired. He had thought it was just a hunter, as hunters are often close to their home. Oh, goodness.
Nancy Lanza and neighbors her son hacked into commit computer system. I got into second level, either FB or CIA. When got into 3. He level they shut him down and showed up at house. This was when he was in 9th grade. Lanza's used to come over. Always a troubled kid FBI craw told Lanza IR. He was smart Tima. Have a job if he was that I need T. When he intelligent.
So this is basically the written version of what we just read. So let me scroll through all of that. Okay, here we go. Essay conducted the following neighborhood canvass in Sandy Hook, Connecticut on 12/14/2012. No one was present at the address as of 5:14 p.m. No one was present at the address as of 5:17 p.m. And blank cellular telephone number were interviewed by special agent. Nothing unusual occurred in the neighborhood in the last 24 hours. They were not familiar with the Lanza family. The last time they saw a young kid around the Lanza house would have been 4 years ago. Nothing unusual occurred in the last 24 hours. They did not know the Lanzas. There was a trail to the state forest adjacent to their neighborhood where Blank took her dogs twice a week. Generally, Blank did not see anyone when she was on these walks. On Thursday, December 13th, 2012, around 1 p.m., Diane was coming back from her walk while on the phone, and she saw a man in an orange poncho sitting up on the hill. The man looked like he was contemplating, believed the man to be a hunter. However, she thought it was strange that a hunter would be out at 1 p.m. when they are usually hunting at dawn or dusk. Blank did not have any further description of the man and did not see any weapons near the man, but mentioned that she thought Adam Lanza was not as thin as the photo that was going around of him. Oof. Blank take a longer hike, usually once a week on Sunday. On Sunday, December 9th, 2012, Blank and Blank were hiking in the state forest, and they took a trail that they had not previously taken, about 1.5 miles from their home. They noticed a double tent with a tarp over it and some other items that appeared to be there for quite some time. The odd part about this trail was that it looked like it had just been cleared with a leaf blower, as usually the trails are covered with leaves. This trail was in the same general vicinity of where blank saw the man in the orange poncho. However, not the same exact area. On Sunday, December 16th, 2012, blank and blank were taking their longer weekly hike, and the tent was still in the same place, and the trail still looked like it had recently been cleared. Blank and blank did not see anyone near the tent or any weapons from their vantage point of the tent. This is the written.
We live A in Sandy Hook. You and your partner visited our house Friday evening. We didn't have much of value to tell you, I'm afraid. This afternoon, my wife and I were taking our weekly hike in the state forest adjacent to the neighborhood and thought of something to pass on to you. Approx 1.5 miles from our house in a remote part of the woods is a large tent and other items that appear to have been there for quite some time. We first noticed it last weekend when we took an unmarked trail we had never hiked. It didn't occur to us to mention it to you all on Friday evening, but we thought about it today. I'm attaching a photo I took of the site. B6 billions 16. In addition, my wife remembers seeing a man in the woods in the same general vicinity as the tent with a gun on Thursday, December 13th, 2012 at approx 1 p.m. Likely a hunter, but she wanted to inform you about this. It's likely this is nothing, but that is for you all to determine. If you would like to ask us anything about this site, please contact us. My cell is home, is cell is my wife. Thank you. Forwarded message. From. Date, Sunday, December 16th, 2012.
What in the hell is this? No idea. I don't know if that is the attached photo and it's just like not good quality or what, but there's that. Mm, this is mostly redacted. Wow. These are the search warrants, but they're also mostly redacted. It has like the room letter, I guess, but outside of that, all of it is redacted and the date. Um, Blank knew that the Lanzas were divorced. Blank knew Adam, never really saw the Lanzas, did not see or hear anything unusual on 12/14/2012. Um, at the news of the shooting, he began doing his own research of the blank who he had thought from the news was the shooter. He looked up Blank's Facebook account and noticed that Blank had changed his Facebook avatar on 12/08/12. The new photo was of a male wearing all black clothes and sunglasses. Blank found this suspicious because that was similar to what the shooter in Connecticut was wearing. There were a number of posts on Blank's Facebook page by Blank. The comment said, "Looks like you're dressed like an assassin." Blank thought he was referencing a violent video game. Blank also made reference to Blank wearing a trench coat. Blank thought this was similar to the trenchcoat mafia and Columbine high school shooters. Final post said, "This can only turn out awesome." Blank read between the lines and believed Blank may have had advanced knowledge of the shootings. Blank could not access Blank's Facebook account. It had been locked out. Blank later found out the shooting was not Blank, but Adam Lanza. This nullifying thought that Blank had prior knowledge. Oh, and that's it. Blank's father received a threatening phone call. SA examined the caller ID for the home telephone number, which showed calls on 12/16/2012 at 12:14 p.m., 12:16, and 12:20 from telephone number I called Inc. Stated her father Blank answered the first call, and an unknown male said in substance, "I'm Adam Lanza. I'm going to kill you." Blank argued with the caller and ended the call. The unknown male called the second time and called Blank a faggot. Blank hung up on the caller on the third call. SA Blank then called. Blank stated the caller on the first call stated, "I'm Adam Lanza and you are going to be dead." After arguing with the caller stated, "No, I'm really going to kill you." Blank stated the caller did not have a noticeable accent. Crazy. Didn't know the Lanza family. They never had any interaction with anyone in the Lanza family. Blank and Blank never saw any children at 36 Yogananda Street. The only activity they saw at 36 Yogananda Street was a lady arriving and departing in an automobile. On December 14th, 2012, Blank was at home in the morning between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. She then left her residence and returned home around 9:30 a.m. Blank left home early in the morning and returned home at noon, December 14th, 2012. Blank mentioned that he witnessed 4 to 5 years ago a kid dressed in all black walk up Yogananda Street to the bus stop and turned around and walked back. Blank didn't know the kid or where he came from. SA and SA attempted to interview Blank on 12/16/2012 at 5:10 at his residence, Sandy Hook, Connecticut telephone number. No one answered the door, and no one answered the home telephone, which could be heard ringing in the house. There was no way to leave a voicemail. Hmm.
Residence address was interviewed in the driveway of his residence. After being advised of the identities of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, provided the following information, BB6. Advised that he did not know the Lanza family. He never heard other neighbors speak about the Lanza family. Did not observe any suspicious activity in his neighborhood over the past few weeks. The neighborhood has always been very quiet. BB-6. On the morning of December 14th, 2012, was at work B-5, 6 billions, 56. Jadvised B7 B-6, advised that he would be willing to cooperate further as it was deemed necessary. BB-6.
On December 16th, 2012, an unidentified male left a voice message on Blank's answering machine at approximately 9 a.m. The voicemail stated, "This is Adam Lanza. I'm going to kill you. Ha 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 ha." Blank accidentally erased the voicemail message. Blank did not receive any other threatening phone calls on December 16th. Blank advised Blank advised that she would be willing to cooperate further as it was deemed necessary. Seems like a lot of threatening phone calls going around here, man. That's crazy work. The Blank family received a threatening phone call between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on December 16, 2012. A friend of Blank answered the telephone. The caller identified himself as Adam Lanza and said, "I'm going to kill you." The family received an additional telephone calls on their residence landline. The unidentified male left 2 threatening voice messages. Administrative note: Blank consented to the agents recording the voice messages left by the unidentified caller. SA recorded the voice messages with his Federal Bureau of Investigation issued BlackBerry. The recording will be preserved and maintained in the case file. Blank answered the telephone twice and spoke to the unidentified caller. The caller threatened to kill Blank's family and Blank asked the caller some questions, and the caller was responsive. The Blank family received more than 5 threatening telephone calls on December 16, 2012. The caller spoke English. Each time the caller identified himself as Adam Lanza. Blank advised that he would be willing to cooperate further as it was deemed necessary. Crazy work.
At 9:40 a.m. on December 14, 2012, initial call into Newtown Emergency Services was received from Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut that shots had been fired within the school. The gunman, Adam P. Lanza, shot out the windows at the front of the elementary school in order to gain access. 2 law enforcement officers arrived during the shooting, at which time the suspect ducked into a classroom and shot himself. The shooter attended the school as a child, but no other relationship between Adam P. Lanza and Sandy Hook Elementary School has been established. There were a total of 28 dead, 20 children and 8 adults. Goodbye. Title. In connection with the investigation into the attack on the Sandy Hook Elementary School on December 14, 2012, Connecticut State Police is requesting FBI assistance in interviewing. Former for the Newtown CT school system, has been interviewed by numerous media outlets and claims extensive knowledge of the suspect, Adam Lanza, BB-6. Goodbye.
Bunch more subpoenas. Here we go. Telephone number contacted the Newtown command post anonymously with information. A search of databases revealed the above information being connected to the telephone number on which the anonymous call was made. Writer then telephonically contacted Blank after being advised of the identity of the interviewing agent. They provided the following, confirmed his identity and address, and provided his date of birth as hmm.
The following are the results of a neighborhood canvass conducted in conjunction with captioned investigation. The canvass occurred on December 14, 2012. The addresses covered in this summary of the canvass were homes number Newtown, Connecticut, and B-5, 6 billions -56. And date of birth would not be B-6 know any of the residents at 36 Yogananda Street, even if they saw pictures of them. The have lived in their home since they did not see or hear anything unusual in their neighborhood for the past several days, including today. Frequently walks the neighborhood and has noticed that the residents of 36 Yogananda Street always have many empty bottles of bottled water out on the street in their recycling when it is collected each week. She never saw anyone outside house number 36 on her walks. BB, the telephone number for the home is. There was no response to agents knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell of this address. It appeared that there was no one home. B, 5 billions -5. This document contains 12/17/2012. Male, date of birth interviewed at his residence, located at Connecticut by the undersigned agents, and have lived in this house for approximately years. BB, and provided the. Neither nor knew Nancy Lanza very well. and Nancy never made an effort to introduce herself to it heard, and that the couple living at 36 Yogananda Street were getting a divorce. They did not know Nancy's former husband well either. BB-6, the news reports earlier today. They thought that Nancy had one son, but learned through the news reports that she had another son living in another state, and were unaware of the violence that had been inflicted upon Nancy until they heard about it on the news. At approximately 10 a.m. today, while was at work, the Newtown Police Department told she had to evacuate her residence immediately, did as she was instructed by the police, and only returned to her home in the early evening. Date of birth residing at was with his residence. Neither when this happened, but has since returned to thought that would know any nor more about the Lanza family than they did. This advised that, were Adam Lanza and were his heroes stated on his Facebook page, the thought that also observed A was friends with the Lanza brothers on Facebook. Facebook conversation between the conversation money, Lanza brothers, Wall and another individual on Facebook, and told the individual that he was moving to Canada B-5-6, and that if everything would have worked out, they would have made a lot of B-5. 6 was not certain if those statements were related to the eventually removed those comments from his Facebook, also had a picture of on his Facebook page. Thought that lived in Connecticut at one time, but she has never met was not certain. Believed that he currently resided in Indiana, in person, but she advised that she would be willing to cooperate further as it was deemed necessary. BB went to the Worcester rifle range to shoot Adam's 2 rifles. B-5-6 Adam's schooling, which began at Sandy Hook Elementary School for grades K-4th. Adam then moved on to Newtown Middle School for grades 5th, 7th. Around 7th grade, Adam moved to St. Mary's Catholic School. Once completing middle school, Adam moved on to Newtown High School, where he completed 9th grade, and then Nancy thought it was best to remove Adam from school and homeschool him through graduation. Around Adam's 6th grade, he was diagnosed with Asperger's, and a great deal of school and societal stresses started to present, and was the reason why he moved to St. Mary's Catholic School. Adam was bullied, but not excessively, for his social awkwardness and his physical gait, both results of his disease. Adam continued in school until his 9th grade year when stresses over papers, classes, pressure from grades, and fortune, he finally was removed from school. Adam never completely accepted that he had a disease, and therefore never took any of his medication he was prescribed. Adam was in complete denial of his disease from diagnosis, and therefore was not on disability because of this denial. BB. Adam was in BB, 6 billions B-6 Adam, was a member of the tech club, but never was able to maintain any of the relationship he established there. Adam never had got in B-5, 6 billions -5, 6 trouble in school or with the police, nor demonstrate any violent tendencies as far as harming animals or getting into fights. Knew when it came to November 2012, Nancy to chip in for buying Adam a computer or parts for a computer for Adam to build himself. Summarizes the reason why Nancy wanted to do this is Adam has become a shut-in and he hasn't gone anywhere in 3 months. His battery in his car is dead because it's been sitting there so long. Could tell that Nancy was worried about Adam. Adam's hobbies would vary over the course of time since he would find one interest and then not care about it every few months. Some of Adam's hobbies included building computers, online gaming and writing, poetry, hiking, and shooting. Some of the walks Adam would take would be around Sandy Hook Elementary School. Loved this school and liked to visit. Adam to the range once or twice, BB-6, Adam took. Only knew of Adam having 2 rifles, 1 black single-barrel shotgun and 1 black large-caliber rifle. Never knew that Adam owned any pistols or any other rifles, but does remember Nancy taking Adam to pistol safety courses so he could fire a pistol at the local range. Adam became involved in firearms as a hobby, did not know how or why. Never knew Adam to have any interest in social media such as gave the one also stated Facebook, MySpace, forums, or anything of the same. Email address he knew of Adam's as blarvink@gmail.com. That this Blarvink username was what Adam used on all of his online gaming community account. Believed Adam played mostly fantasy role-playing games, but couldn't remember any of their names. Adam had a cell phone but would never use it. Him on it, but it would only go to voicemail, so he would mainly just email Adam when he would try to reach him. The number would attempt to call BB-6 had for Adam in 2012. His cell phone was 2012, do his laundry and other household chores. However, she never cleaned his room, nor was allowed in his room. Adam's room was in 12. His cell phone was 2000. Adam's room was his personal space that no one else was allowed into. Also mentioned that Adam would sometimes sleep on the floor, or sleep without pillows and some other strange behaviors, and Nancy just accepted, as part of the disease, said Adam never appreciated what Nancy did for him. BB-6. -1 of 3, 6.
Blank left his residence for work at approximately 8:50 a.m. at Dunkin' Donuts at blank with his Bank of America credit card and arrived at his office at approximately 9:45. Adam was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, in approximately the 8th grade. He left high school in either the 9th or the 10th grade and essentially became a recluse, shutting himself in his bedroom playing video games all day. He attended a few courses at Western Connecticut State University, but never attended full time. Stated that Adam had no friends, no associates, no girlfriend, but is very computer savvy and spends most of his time on his computer. At some point, Adam worked briefly at a computer repair shop in Newtown, Connecticut, but never held any other job, including summer work while still in school. Adam became very interested in firearms and at one point considered joining the military. Adam enjoyed target shooting. Adam and Nancy owned at least 4 guns: a black AR-15 semi automatic, a 223 rifle, a Lee Enfield, a 308 rifle, a semi automatic shotgun, and a 45 cal pistol. Blank believed all the weapons had been legally purchased by Nancy and were registered in her name, but that Adam casually owned the AR-15 and that all the weapons were kept in a gun safe in Adam's bedroom. In Adam's bedroom closet, holy hell. Blank advised that Adam had taken an NRA safety certification course that allowed him to fire the 45 cal pistol at the Danbury range, and that to his knowledge, Adam was able to purchase all his ammunition legally. Blank advised that Adam and Nancy had a close relationship, and as he had no friends, she became the only person Adam would talk to. Although Adam spent the majority of his time playing video games, they were non-violent games. His favorite was Super Mario Brothers, although he often became frustrated at not being able to express himself. Adam never became violent. He never used drugs or alcohol and actually hated the thought of it. Blank could not provide or eh, could provide no explanation or motive for Adam's actions.
And advised they did not know the residents who lived at 36 Yogananda Street, Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and moved to their current residence in. Since that time, they have not had any interactions with the family residing at 36 Yogananda Street, BB-6, and were not home on the morning of December 14th, 2012. They did not notice any suspicious activity in their neighborhood within the past few weeks, BB-6, and further, as it was deemed necessary, advised that they would be willing to cooperate. Letter. Facsimile teen, unite. You are requested not to disclose the existence of this request, or its contents to the subscribers, or to any other person, other than as necessary to comply with this request.
Blank contacted the FBI out of concern following her interview of a patient on Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Blank ranted that he was going to kill the blank and then kill himself. Blank did not know if Blank had access to weapons, ammunition, or any other materials which would assist him in carrying out his threat. Blank believes it is her duty to bring this to the FBI's attention because it was to her understanding that Blank was planning on returning to Connecticut for Christmas. It was her opinion Blank fascination with the Sandy Hook school shooting would escalate if he were to return to Connecticut. Blank stated that she was uncomfortable enough that if Blank were to be released, she believed Blank should be watched by law enforcement. Hmm. Interesting, interesting.
Danbury Hospital, 24. And the nature of the interview, Hospital Avenue, Danbury, Connecticut, 06810. Attended a memorial service on Monday, December 17th, 2012. Danbury Hospital for one of the child victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings. Was confronted by a white male approximately 60 years.
The service was being held in the hospital's auditorium for employees only. A short time after the conclusion of the service, Blank was still in the auditorium with Blank was confronted by a white male approximately 60 years old who told that his name was Blank. Blank was not invited to the closed memorial service. When Blank asked why he was there, Blank told him, among other things, that he had an intelligence background with special clearance and that he had been brought into the Sandy Hook Elementary School as a consultant after the shooting. Blank was agitated. Blank also handed a business card to the business card had printed on it only the name, the telephone number, and the email address. Blank is not sure how he entered the hospital. Another employee of the hospital approached and told that he was needed elsewhere. Blank walked away. He eventually left the auditorium and the hospital. Kinda weird. On 12/16/2012, the Blank family received 4 telephone calls from a telephone number. The first call occurred at approximately 9:30. Blank stated that she answered the telephone with hello, heard 2 clicks, and then heard a male voice states, "This is Adam Lanza, I'm going to kill you." Blank hung up the telephone. After the first call, the Blank family received, "Hi, Howie." And yeah, it is weird. I feel like all of this is very weird. There's so many like just odd things in here from the unredacted portions. I can only imagine what's under the redacted stuff. After the first call, the Blank family received 3 more telephone calls from the same number with the last one occurring at approximately 11:22 a.m. Of the 3 other calls, the caller left 2 threatening messages that were recorded by the Blank voicemail account. Blank provided that she deleted the 2 threatening messages from the family's voicemail account, reported the threatening calls to the authorities, described the 2 threatening messages on the family's voicemail account stated the first voicemail sounded like a computerized voice, which stated, "This is Adam Lanza, you are going to be dead by tomorrow." Then provided that the voice on the second voicemail message sounded to be male, deep and raspy, and later categorized it as younger voice with no accent, and it sounded freaky. Furthered that the second voicemail contained a similar threat as the first voicemail, but provided more details. According to the second voicemail, repeated that the caller was Adam Lanza, that "I'm going to fucking kill you, and I'm going to shoot you in the face with a shotgun," provided that he worked at blank. That's low key insane. Not even low key, that's just insane. On the same day the Blank family received the threatening phone calls, 5 other families received similar threatening phone calls from the telephone number. After providing the family with names of the other families who received threatening phone calls, the Blank family provided they did not know any of the other families. Blank provided that the family's telephone number is listed in the telephone book. Oh, here we go. The Blank family received a telephone call on their home number from a telephone number. They answered. After saying hello, they heard a click. Then a male voice stated, "I'm Adam Lanza," hung up the phone, described the male voice as creepy and young. At approximately 9:25, the caller called the telephone number a second time, but Blank let the call go to voicemail account. The caller left the following message on the voicemail account: "Sound of a toilet flushing, then a pause. This is Adam Lanza. I'm going to fucking kill you. You're dead. You're dead. Do you hear me? You're fucking dead." And then he hangs up. Provided that she listened to the voicemail as described above. Soon after, Blank told her about the first call, then contacted the authorities. Prior to playing the voicemail for interviewing agents, requested that Anne leave the room as she did not want either of them to hear the message. Then played the voicemail for the interviewing agents twice. Special agent was able to make a copy of the recording with an application on his BlackBerry. An electronic copy of the recording is attached to this communication. At approximately 11:23, the caller identification system, caller ID, provided the family received a third caller from the same number as listed above, but no message was left. Blank stated no one was at the residence at the time of the third call. Belonged to iCall Inc. Neither Blank nor the older daughter were at the residence during the interview or when the threatening telephone calls were placed to the home. On the same date, 5 other families received threatening phone calls. Yeah, that's crazy though.
During the investigation, CSP recovered a 500 gigabytes Seagate Barracuda St. 3,500,320 as hard drive SN9QM34Z8 from 36 Yogananda Street, Sandy Hook, CT, the home of suspect Adam Lanza. The drive has been opened and significantly damaged by force trauma as well as by being scratched with an implement. New Haven is requesting assistance. As this is a matter of national attention, it is of high priority. However, NH understands that the techniques involved will be very time intensive. Therefore, no deadline is identified, but as rapid a response as is possible under the circumstances is requested. The New Haven POC for this issue is SA he can be reached at, or 1-203-270-4365. The foregoing affidavit and application for search and seizure warrant having been presented to computers, zip disks, CDs, CDRs, DVDs, and other electronic storage media because the objects themselves may be instrumentalities, fruits, or evidence of a crime, and the objects may have been used to collect and store information about crimes in the form of electronic data. Such data may include image files, video files, text files, or other electronically stored documents. Connecticut general statutes define a computer as a programmable, electronic device capable of accepting and processing data, such as a gaming console, cellular telephone, and other similar devices. Submit the property described in the foregoing affidavit and application to laboratory analysis and examination. Department of Public Safety Computer and Electronics Unit and/or other recognized and accredited forensic science laboratory for forensic examination and review. And upon finding said property to seize the same, lay can keep it in custody until a further order of the court, and with reasonable promptness make due return of this warrant accompanied by a written inventory of all property seized. The foregoing request that the judge or judge trial referee dispense with the requirement of CGS section 540.
There are so many subpoenas in here. Oh my goodness. And a lot of this stuff is just really redacted, so there's not a whole lot of information within it. Um, we are almost halfway through it though. We're on page 222, 23 now. Adam Lanza, the shooter, has been. This is a copy of the same report at the beginning. There is going to be a few duplicates in here, unfortunately. I'm trying to get past all the procedural, like, filings and stuff because they're not super interesting, but there's a lot of them. We're 320 pages in now, more than halfway through the document. Yeah, this is all duplicates from the beginning of the document. Um, I'm not sure if the rest of the document is like that. Um, that's a duplicate. We went over that. If it is, I think we could safely go on to part 2 then. Possibly. Yeah. We're gonna go down to maybe like 400 pages and just to make sure that we don't miss anything. And then we'll switch over to part 2 because I think that this is just repeating information. Yeah.
Please find the records you requested attached herein. If you have any questions regarding these records, please refer to case number listed in the subject line. This email is in response to your request that these records be transmitted electronically. In receiving these documents electronically, you understand that this communication may not be secured and is subject to interception by third parties. You assume any liability for the
This is the part 2, and we're still going through subpoenas. This one is also 535 pages long. Me and Mama both have. We've went through them a couple different times, and we're not entirely sure if they contain the same information. We've asked we've asked AI about it, and based off of the AI response, they contain different parts of the investigation. So we will look into all 3 of them separately, I guess.
On December 14th, 2012, Adam P. Lanza, 36 Yogananda Street, Sandy Hook, Connecticut, killed 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary School. After the shooting, various agencies conducted checks on the name Adam Lanza. Amtrak detective telephone email reported B-2, 4 billions 2 4 unclassified. Sandy Hook minus.
I'm going to pull up one of the scene, like the school interior videos that we have while I skim through the documents that we have. That way, you guys can watch the video and not have to watch me go through all of the documents. So, let me switch that real quick. The videos are redacted as well. Like, once they get inside, I'm pretty sure the majority of it is redacted. Um, they show the bullets on the ground and stuff, though. I'd also like to point out these videos are taken, like, I'm pretty sure at least 24 to 48 hours after the initial shooting occurred, and it's still all of this is redacted. Hold on. Yeah, I think that's all that they show for this video. It's an hour long, and it is fully redacted up until the only parts that aren't redacted is 5 minutes of it, and some of the 5 minutes is redacted as well. But I scrolled through and was able to get to a decent part of the documents, I believe. So we shall read that. They lived at Blink for the past years. The Lanzas were married until a few years ago. Blank heard Nancy Lanza make derogatory remarks about her ex-husband after the divorce, but she and Nancy Lanza were not friends. They had coffee once in all the years they lived there. She believed that the ex-husband would get the boys on the weekends. They knew that the younger Lanza boy had a hard time in public school, so the Lanzas put him in a Catholic school at St. Rose's for a short time, but that did not work out either. Nancy Lanza asked about St. Rose's, recalled that Nancy mentioned her younger boy was very involved with Japanese manga, which are some type of comics, and that he did not relate well with other kids. Nancy Lanza pulled him out of St. Rose's because he was flunking religion. Did not know if the younger Lanza finished high school. He may have finished online. She said that there were always cars going up and down the driveway at strange hours of the night. And that's the written. Blank called and they both provided verbal consent for Ryder to take for further investigation. Consent to search computers.
Have been asked by special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to permit a complete search by the FBI or its designees of any and all computers, any electronic and or optical data storage and or retrieval system or medium, and any related computer peripherals described below. CPU make, model, and serial number storage or retrieval media, computer peripherals and located at which I own, possess, control, and or have access to, for any evidence of a crime or other violation of the law. The required passwords, logins, and or specific directions for computer entry are as follows. I've been advised of my right to refuse to consent to this search, and I give permission for this search, freely and voluntarily, and not as the result of threats or promises of any kind. I authorize those agents to take any evidence discovered during this search, together with the medium in on which it is stored, and any associated data, hardware, software, and computer peripherals. Date, sick, handwritten. Signature of witness.
On 12/17/12, the writer and task force officer TFO contacted Blink at her residence located at Blink. Writer and TFC returned and provided RP with her property. In the presence of writer and TFO, RP signed the FD 597 receipt for the property returned and FD 941 page 2 consent to search computer forms. RP further clarified on 12/14/12 she called the Connecticut State Police with the information she had from her cell phone at approximately 12:45 p.m. At approximately 1:37 p.m., the RP received a call from the Connecticut State Police at approximately 3:25 p.m. The RP sent an email to Connecticut State Police detective of the information she reported. RP provided writer and TFO with her email address of hmm, to document report of examination of blank by North Texas Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory. Writer provided senior forensic examiner of the NTRCFL for further examination. See attached report or receipt. My bad. Unsaid Firearms Act. SA requested that blank be examined and information found on the device be provided to him. The evidence item was processed. This device has blank. The evidence items were photographed and initialated. The date is correct.
And were returned to the evidence control technician. The notes of examination were placed in the case file and will be retained with the case file by North Texas Regional Computer Forensics Laboratory, along with a copy of the item. A copy of this report will be given to the case agent along with 3 copies of and the original evidence items. B-1 for official use only.
Hmm. On December 16, 2012, Bourne and his wife, Bourne, were interviewed at their home located at blank, Newtown, Connecticut. Present during the interview was writer and essay. After being advised of the nature of the interview and identity of the interviewing agents, provided the information. The currently reside at the above address. December 16, 2012, left his residence around 8 a.m. to eat breakfast, had left earlier than him to go Christmas shopping. Upon his return, he discovered a missed telephone call on his home phone. The phone number advised that he then checked the voicemail messages on their home telephone answering machine. The message was as follows: "This is Adam Lanza. I'm gonna kill you. You're dead." The caller identification read the incoming call was coming from telephone number. The blank did not recognize the voice or incoming number. Investigative note. Advised that his number is listed in the phone book. He provides both his cell and phone numbers for emergency issues. Isn't it weird that there is numerous reports of threatening phone calls from somebody claiming to be Adam Lanza with different descriptions of the voice, some being robotic, some being raspy, and some being creepy or freaky. And all of them take place 4 days, or not 4 days, 2 days after the initial shooting.
A call was placed at the Bank of San Antonio, 2065 this morning, 271-3012. Thank personnel should they received a bomb threat this morning, and or if they received any suspicious calls to the above captioned percent. Bank information is as follows.
The call was placed to the Bank of San Antonio this morning, December 19th, 2012 at 9:53 a.m. from the same number that made the Newtown bomb threats. The bank personnel should be asked if they received a bomb threat this morning and or if they have received any suspicious calls to the above caption number. Bank information is as follows. Um, For information of Charlotte on December 14th, 2012, FBI New Haven was contacted by the Newtown, Connecticut Police Department,
Title 619th 2000 with an active
who requested immediate assistance with an active shooter.
shooter who had entered the Sandy Hook Elementary School and opened fire, resulting in the death of 20 students and 6 school faculty. Specific information concerning the incident is as follows. The shooter was identified as Adam P. Lanza, DOB April 22, 1992. Residence address 36 Yoganda Street, Newtown, Connecticut. Lanza died at the scene with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. New Haven subsequently opened a case to support the investigation of the following violations: aiding and abetting and conspiracy for 922, unlawful for individual to possess firearm that is moved in interstate commerce in school zone; 922, discharging in school zone; 922, stolen guns. New Haven's investigation revealed Lanza utilized the email account blarvink@gmail.com. B 2 billions minus 2 unclassified other sealed pursuant to court order. B minus 2 RE.
On December 19th, 2012 at approximately 2:15 p.m., Supervisory Special Agent FBI conducted a telephonic interview via conference call. Conference call ID. Also present on the conference call were blank. The purpose of the interview was to obtain clarification regarding a CZ-83 pistol and a gastrointestinal health condition pertaining to blank Adam Lanza. During the interview, blank provided the following information: was unaware of what a CZ-83 was, but assumed it was a type of weapon. He explained that in addition, he was uncertain as to whether or not Nancy had even purchased the CZ-83 for Adam. Around Christmas 2010, was planning on accompanying Adam to the blank wanted to and wished to participate in, when learned that Adam was developing an interest to weapons, purchased various boxes of, rents various types of, therefore purchased a variety just in case Adam wanted to try. Never did accompany Adam to, and believed that the boxes. Regarding email traffic between and Nancy's concerning Adam's kidney and gallbladder test, said that he was not present during the test and therefore he did not know any of the names of the doctors who performed the test. He received all this information regarding Adam's health secondhand from Nancy and was not made aware of any results of the test, so he concluded that there were no problems. Although Adam occasionally had difficulty sleeping, Adam was not experiencing any physical pain, believed that the tests were performed as a result of Adam, who possessed a naturally thin build, losing so much weight. Adam weighed about 85 pounds. Holy shit. 85 pounds. Holy hell. That's crazy. The external hard drive located southeast bedroom closet. From December 14th, 2012, the search began on December 14, 2012 at approximately 9:25 p.m. and ended on December 15th, 2012 at approximately 3:39 a.m. On Saturday, December 15th, 2012 at approximately 4:27 a.m. Evidence items were secured at FBI facility and locked sealed storage until Monday, December 17th, 2012, when they were transported to the FBI NHFO at 600 State Street, New Haven, Connecticut, and turned over to the evidence control at approximately 11:40 a.m. They were photographed but not seized and were maintained by SA and documented separately. Hmm. On December 18th, 2012 at approximately 5:15, was I was advised of the identities of the interviewing agents, family members, was told the purpose of the interview was to assert any information he may have pertaining to Adam Lanza participation in high school tech club at the Newtown High School in Newtown, Connecticut, was interviewed at his residence and voluntarily provided the following information: was born in and attended high school in Newtown, Connecticut. After high school, became employed, has held multiple positions, resided at Newtown, remained with the Board of Education. First became familiar with the Lanza family through after school activities at Newtown High School. The club was an after-school activity that allowed students to explore more technology and its applications. First met Adam Lanza while he was a student at the middle school in Newtown. Adam would often come to tech club functions. Described Adam Lanza as one not willing to talk much. Adam didn't have much contact with other students, and it was very hard to communicate with him. Adam did not have good social skills and would often become withdrawn in a social environment. Determined early on that Adam Lanza had some issues. Knew Mrs. Lanza from his dealing with the tech club. Mrs. Lanza would often attend functions of the tech club, so his mom would go with him. That's what's up. Stated that when Adam Lanza reached high school, he became a member of the tech club. Remembers that Adam dealt poorly with other students but did not show any signs of violence. Remembers that he had to watch Adam when he was working with tools because he could hurt himself. Adam's mother cautioned that Adam does not feel pain like other children and that care was needed when he was working around tools in tech club. had discussions with Mrs. Lanza about Adam Lanza's issues. Mrs. Lanza told that Adam Lanza had several disorders to include autism and Asperger's syndrome. There was one disorder that blank and Mrs. Lanza discussed but cannot remember the name. Remembers Adam being on some type of medication, but he cannot remember their names. Would have contact with Mrs. Lanza when Adam would have episodes at school. These
episodes would last about 15 minutes or so, and often would require a call to Mrs. Lanza, who would respond from work. Adam would become withdrawn, but did not show any signs of violence during these episodes. Adam was more likely to be victimized than to act in violence against another person. Adam Lanza would have a teacher's aide with him during the school day. Adam was inclusive in the classroom and would be removed to a special classroom for specialized training. Remembers that Mrs. Lanza was a teacher or volunteer and would come does not recall Adam any from work to respond to Adam's episodes. Episodes during after-school activities in the tech club, sent Adam home during an overnight tech club activity at school, may have learned that of Newtown had spoken to the media sometime after the shooting incident at Sandy Hook Elementary School, spoke to and referred them to. Initial decision to speak to the media was based on his belief that he could raise awareness about being observant to warning signs in children's behavior. Admits he does not have much experience in dealing with the media. Once involved with the media, his message was lost, and the media just wanted to concentrate on Adam. Has agreed to speak. B-5, 6 billions, -5, 6 billions, B-. Has not seen or had any contact with Adam Lanza for his family since. B-5, 6 billion. And expressed their frustration with the media. B-5, 6 billions, -5, 6 cents, has made comments on different media outlets. The couple has been inundated with inquiries for comments. Both admit this is overwhelming and has affected their family. And were provided the number of the FBI's victim witness, were advised to B-5, 6 billions, -5, 6 coordinator specialist for the call to VCs for assistance. Sandy Hook.
So much of this is redacted. It's so crazy. As there is no apparent connection to Lanza, Charlotte Division considers this lead covered. Charlotte Division will assist New Haven Division if further information is required. Interesting. Approximately 8 p.m. on 12/19 to request assistance with locating and interviewing 2 deputies, assisted the writer with this task and conducted a cursory search of living quarters and had casual conversation with. Results of the writer's interview can be found in the corresponding. The rest of this is redacted. Stated that redacted. Interesting. White male, date of birth, social security, was interviewed. After being advised of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, provided the following information. Indicated he had information regarding the shooting that occurred at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Allegedly overheard the conversation and informed that Lanza was interested in assault weapons. As the discussion progressed, stated that Lanza possessed an assault weapon and that she was scared of him. Lanza allegedly told that he planned to kill his mother and children at Sandy Hook, Newtown, Connecticut. In December of 2008, there could not get over the information he had regarding Lanza, called Sandy Hook and explained to what he had been told, stated she had previous run-ins with Lanza and requested that contact with the Newtown Police Department. Called the NPD and told them he had information about Lanza threatening to kill his mother and shoot children at Sandy Hook. Was told by NPD that Lanza's mother owned the guns and that there was nothing NPD could do about it. Alleges that NPD threatened to contact the called with the information he received from NPD and insisted call the state police, refused as he was scared of the threats from NPD and told to leave him alone. Insisted she come to speak with and convince him to return to Connecticut with her. To speak with the authorities, told not to come looking for him, and he wanted to stay out of it. A short while later, while there, learned a woman had been traveling around in the area looking for him and asking for him by name. He found the woman that was looking for him, stated that it was, spoke with, and she pleaded with him to go to Connecticut and tell the authorities what he knew about Lanza. Refused and told she needed to leave town, was staying at the Super 8 Inn and was escorted out of and back to Connecticut from, which she apparently did. Indicated that this time frame was sometime between December 6, 2008 and December 24th, 2008. Remembered these dates as he talked to, again, called her, was upset with for informing about Lanza, apparently had contacted as well, had told Lanza of the incident, and Lanza had threatened to make it seem like would be involved if a shooting ever took place. Has not talked to since the phone call. Per Lanza hated his mother and Sandy Hook because his mother had worked there. Lanza apparently felt that his mother loved the students more than him. Stated that he made all of his phone calls to and the NPD from landline, said his story could be verified from the phone records from house and possibly the flight records from traveling from Connecticut to, believed that he was in sometime around December 18th through December 24th, 2008. Stated that he had read about the shooting and watched the events on television. He was coming forward with this information because he felt bad about not doing more to try and prevent the incident from occurring. Provided a printout, which is attached to the document. Adam Lanza this is the written. And it's so crazy that there was people that had information about Adam Lanza allegedly wanting to harm his mother and children at Sandy Hook before it even happened, but nothing was done about it. Has had a Facebook account in the past, but has not used it in some time. Most of online social activity involves tweeting through his Twitter handle. Also does a lot of online gaming on various consoles, to include his personal computer, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Uses various gamer tags, also known as nicknames or nicks, to include but not limited to. Could not recall how it was spelled. Does maintain active Xbox Live and PlayStation networks online. Stayed logged in onto his Xbox account and only had 15 friends. Stated that he had dropped all his friends from his PlayStation network account when does play online video games. He normally plays with his online friends, has a large collection of video games, and admitted to spending that he had a spending problem because of his love for video games. Hmm. But he does not participate in chat audio sessions while playing online, but has heard conversations that other users have with one another, had participated in or heard other users talking about mass shootings, massacres, murders, or anything along those lines while he played video games online. Had never participated in. Stated that if he had knowledge of such conversations that he would have immediately reported it to police. Also stated that in- intentionally harming children was sick and that bastard took the easy way out by killing himself, and if I would have killed the shooter myself and if I would have killed the shooter myself if I had the chance because of what he did to those kids in reference to the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. Doesn't use email often, has purchased video games online through digital software distribution service known as Steam. Does maintain a Dropbox account linked to his address and uses it for storing video games that he has downloaded from the internet. Did not recall any instances of strange conversations, emails, or any other communications regarding events related to Connecticut shooting or other massacres and mass killings. Hmm.
The purpose of this report is to identify the person or persons criminally responsible for the 27 homicides that occurred in Newtown, Connecticut on the morning of December 14, 2012, to determine what crimes were committed, and to indicate if there will be any state prosecutions as a result of the incident. The state's attorney for the Judicial District of Danbury is charged, pursuant to Article 4, Section 27 of the Constitution of the State of Connecticut and Connecticut General Statutes SEC 51 to 276 ETSEC, with the investigation and prosecution of all criminal offenses occurring within the Judicial District of Danbury. The Connecticut State Police have the responsibility to prevent and detect violations of the law, and this state's attorney has worked with and relied upon the Connecticut State Police since the incident occurred. Since December 14, 2012, the Connecticut State Police and the state's attorney's office have worked with the federal authorities sharing responsibilities for various aspects of this investigation. Numerous other municipal, state, and federal agencies assisted in the investigation. The investigation materials reflect thousands of law enforcement and prosecutor hours. Apart from physical evidence, the materials consist of more than 700 individual files that include reports, statements, interviews, videos, laboratory tests and results, photographs, diagrams, search warrants and returns, as well as evaluations of those items. In the course of the investigation, both state and federal law enforcement personnel received a large number of contacts purporting to provide information on the shootings and the shooter. Although many times these leads would go nowhere, each one was evaluated and often required substantial law enforcement time to pursue. An abundance of caution was used during the investigation to ensure that all leads were looked into, despite the fact that more than 40 such leads proved, after investigation, to be unsubstantiated. Information that was substantiated and relevant was made part of the investigation. It is not the intent of this report to convey every piece of information contained in the voluminous investigation materials developed by the Connecticut State Police and other law enforcement agencies, but to provide information relevant to the purposes of this report. While no report is statutorily required of the state's attorney once an investigation is complete, it has been the practice of state's attorneys to issue reports on criminal investigations where there is no arrest and prosecution if the state's attorney determines that some type of public statement is necessary. Given the gravity of the crimes committed on December 14, 2012, a report is in order. On the morning of December 14, 2012, the report is Andy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, where he shot his way into the locked school building with a Bushmaster Model XM15E2S rifle. He then shot and killed the principal and school psychologist as they were in the north hallway of the school, responding to the noise of the shooter coming into the school. The shooter also shot and injured 2 other staff members who were also in the hallway. The shooter then went into the main office, apparently did not see the staff who were hiding there, and returned to the hallway. After leaving the main office, the shooter then went down the same hallway in which he had just killed 2 people and entered first grade classrooms 8 and 10, the order in which is unknown. While in those rooms, he killed the 2 adults in each room, 15 children in classroom 8 and 5 in classroom 10. All of the killings were done with a Bushmaster rifle. He then took his own life with a single shot from a Glock 20, 10mm pistol in classroom 10. Prior to going to the school, the shooter used a-caliber Savage Mark II rifle to shoot and kill his mother in her bed at the home where they lived at 36 Yogananda Street in Newtown. The response to these crimes began unfolding at 9:39 a.m., when the first 911 call was received by the Newtown Police Department. With the receipt of that call, the dispatching and the arrival of the police, the law enforcement response to the shootings began. It was fewer than 4 minutes from the time the first 911 call was received until the first police officer arrived at the school. It was fewer than 5 minutes from the first 911 call and 1 minute after the arrival of the first officer that the shooter killed himself. It was fewer than 6 minutes from the time the first police officer arrived on Shia's property to the time the first police officer entered the school building. In fewer than 11 minutes, 20 first grade pupils and 6 adults had lost their lives. The following weapons were recovered in the course of this investigation: a Bushmaster Model XM15E2S semi-automatic rifle, found in the same classroom as the shooter's body. All of the 5.56mm shell casings from the school that were tested were found to have been fired from this rifle. A Glock 20, 10mm semi-automatic pistol, found near the shooter's body, and determined to have been the source of the self-inflicted gunshot wound by which he took his own life. A Sig Sauer P226, 9mm semi-automatic pistol found on the shooter's person. There is no evidence this weapon had been fired. A Eismash Saiga 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun found in the shooter's car in the parking lot outside the school, and which was secured in the vehicle's trunk by police responding to the scene. There is no evidence this weapon had been fired. A Savage Mark II rifle found at 36 Yogananda Street on the floor of the master bedroom near the bed where the body of the shooter's mother was found. This rifle also was found to have fired the 4 bullets recovered during the autopsy of the shooter's mother. All of the firearms were legally purchased by the shooter's mother. Additionally, ammunition of the types found had been purchased by the mother in the past, and there is no evidence that the ammunition was purchased by anyone else, including the shooter. At the date of this writing, there is no evidence to suggest that anyone other than the shooter was aware of or involved in the planning and execution of the crimes that were committed on December 14, 2012, at Sandy Hook Elementary School and 36 Yogananda Street. From the time an unknown male was encountered by the Newtown police outside of the school during the initial response, until well after the staff and children had been evacuated, the thought that there may have been more than one shooter was a condition all responding law enforcement worked under as they cleared the school. Individuals located in the wooded areas surrounding the school, as the searches and evacuations were taking place, were initially treated as suspect and handled accordingly until their identity could be determined. The circumstances surrounding all of these individuals were fully investigated and revealed no additional shooters. DNA testing of evidence recovered from both the school and 36 Yogananda Street also revealed no potential accessories or co-conspirators. It is the conclusion of the state's attorney that the shooter acted alone and was solely criminally responsible for his actions of that day. Moreover, none of the evidence developed to date demonstrates probable cause to believe that any other person conspired with the shooter to commit these crimes or aided and abetted him in doing so. Unless additional, and at this time unanticipated, evidence is developed, there will be no state criminal prosecution as a result of these crimes. With the issuance of this report, the investigation is closed. Should additional reliable information related to the existence of accessories or co-conspirators come to the attention of the investigators, the investigation will be reopened. 2. In the course of his rampage, the shooter committed a number of crimes in violation of our Connecticut Penal Code. The most significant are those where lives were taken and people were physically injured. In Sandy Hook Elementary School, the crime of murder under special circumstances, in violation of CGS SEC 53A to 54B, was committed 26 times, and attempted murder under special circumstances, in violation of CGS SECs 53A to 49 and 53A to 54B, was committed twice, as it relates to the 2 individuals who were shot by the shooter and survived. The crime of murder in violation of CGS SE 53A to 54 was committed by the shooter in killing his mother. The obvious question that remains is, why did the shooter murder 27 people, including 20 children? Unfortunately, that question may never be answered conclusively, despite the collection of extensive background information on the shooter through a multitude of interviews and other sources. The evidence clearly shows that the shooter planned his actions, including the taking of his own life, but there is no clear indication why he did so, or why he targeted Sandy Hook Elementary School. It is known that the shooter had significant mental health issues that affected his ability to live a normal life and to interact with others, even those to whom he should have been close. As an adult, he did not recognize or help himself deal with those issues. What contribution this made to the shootings, if any, is unknown, as those mental health professionals who saw him did not see anything that would have predicted his future behavior. He had a familiarity with and access to firearms and ammunition, and an obsession with mass murders, in particular the April 1999 shootings at Columbine High School in Colorado. Investigators, however, have not discovered any evidence that the shooter voiced or gave any indication to others that he intended to commit such a crime himself. This state's attorney expresses his sincere sympathy and condolences to the victims of the incident of December 14, 2012, and to their families. He also expresses his appreciation for their continued patience and understanding during the course of the investigation and preparation of this report. He acknowledges and thanks law enforcement, which responded to Sandy Hook Elementary School in minutes and entered the building believing someone could be there ready to take their lives as well. He also acknowledges and thanks the staff of the Sandy Hook Elementary School who acted heroically. The combination saved many children's lives. This report would not have been possible if not for the assistance and cooperation of numerous agencies at the state, local, and federal levels of government. The state's attorney expresses his sincere gratitude and appreciation to all of these agencies, and to all of the men and women who contributed so much to this investigation. The assistance of federal authorities has been invaluable. Particularly worthy of special note are the men and women of the Connecticut State Police, and in particular the Western District Major Crime Squad. The thoroughness and sensitivity with which they conducted their investigation is unmatched in my experience. Introduction. On the morning of December 14, 2012, Adam Lanza, the shooter, age 20, went to Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, where he shot his way into the building and killed 20 children and 6 adults and wounded 2 other adults, all with a Bushmaster Model XM-15E2S rifle. The shooter then took his own life with a single shot from a Glock 20 10mm handgun. From the time the doors of the school were locked at 9:30 a.m. until the time it is believed the shooter killed himself at 9:43, fewer than 11 minutes had elapsed. Prior to going to the school, the shooter used a caliber Savage Mark II rifle to shoot and kill his mother in her bed. This occurred at the home where they lived at 36 Yogananda Street, also in Newtown. With these unprecedented horrific crimes came a responsibility for an investigation to determine what crimes were committed, and more importantly, if the shooter acted alone. Any person who aided and abetted the shooter, or who conspired with him, had to be held accountable. Beginning on December 14, 2012, the Connecticut State Police and the state's attorney's office worked in cooperation with the federal authorities, sharing responsibilities for various aspects of the case. The federal involvement has been invaluable. Though some evidence is still being examined, there is no indication in the investigation by other state or federal authorities to date that the shooter acted with anyone on December 14, 2012, or had co-conspirators or accessories who could be prosecuted. In addition to physical evidence, the investigation materials contain over 700 individual files that include reports, statements, interviews, videos, laboratory tests and results, photographs, diagrams, search warrants, and search warrant returns, as well as evaluations of those items. Investigators interviewed individuals who were present at Shees on December 14, 2012, and witnessed the incident, among them students, staff members, parents of students, and neighbors. Special attention and consideration was given to the interviewing of child witnesses, given their traumatic experience. Also interviewed were police officers and other first responders who were present at Shees during the course of the incident itself, and in the course of the subsequent search, evacuation of the school, and processing of the scenes. Investigators attempted to obtain as much information about the shooter's life as possible in an effort to determine the reasons or motives for his actions on December 14, 2012. Interviews were conducted with members of family, those who knew the shooter or his family throughout his life, as well as teachers and school personnel who had been involved with him and his family over his time in Newtown. Efforts were made within the limits of privacy laws to gather information and/or treatments the shooter was involved with over the course of his years in Newtown. In doing so, investigators found no evidence to suggest the shooter had taken any medication that would affect his behavior, or by any means to explain his actions on December 14, 2012. An investigation of this magnitude requires careful planning and review. The interviews took substantial time, first to identify which individuals should be interviewed, and then to conduct the actual interviews. Physical evidence had to be examined and forensically reviewed. This included ballistics, fingerprint, and DNA analysis. Additionally, all of the information collected had to be reviewed and summarized in written statements that have since become a part of the investigation, reflecting thousands of dedicated law enforcement and prosecutor hours. I had been working closely with the Connecticut State Police, who conducted the state investigation, and federal law enforcement officers since December 2012. Once the investigation was delivered for my review, I took the time to read, digest, evaluate, and summarize the material, mindful of the privacy interest involved in the approaching December 14, 12 anniversary. The federal authorities have stated that under federal law, many of their reports and materials cannot become part of the public record due to rules regarding the dissemination of information obtained pursuant to grand jury subpoenas, sealed search warrants, and federal freedom of information law. Therefore, Information obtained by federal authorities will not, for the most part, be incorporated into the Connecticut State Police criminal investigation file. While the reports and materials will not be part of the state investigation record, such materials have been examined and considered by state law enforcement authorities. Based upon a review of all of the documentation, both state and federal, we are left confident at this time that the evidence developed to date does not reveal co-conspirators or accessories. Accordingly, as a result of the investigation to date, there will be no state criminal prosecution of anyone. Purpose and scope of report. The state's attorney's office for the Judicial District of Danbury is charged, pursuant to Article 4, Section of the Connecticut State Constitution and Connecticut General Statutes SEC, with the investigation of all criminal offenses occurring within the Judicial District of Danbury. The Connecticut State Police have the responsibility to prevent and detect violations of the law, and this state's attorney has worked with and relied upon the Connecticut State Police since the incident occurred. The investigation has been tirelessly conducted by the Connecticut State Police with the assistance of multiple local, state, and federal agencies, both in and out of Connecticut. While no report is statutorily required of the state's attorney once the investigation is complete, it has been the practice of state's attorneys to issue reports on criminal investigations where there is no arrest and prosecution if the state's attorney determines that some type of public statement is necessary. Given the gravity of the crimes committed on December 14, 2012, a report is in order. The purpose of this report is to identify the person or persons criminally responsible for the 27 homicides that occurred in Newtown, Connecticut on the morning of December 14, 2012, to determine what crimes were committed, and to indicate if there will be any state prosecutions as a result of the incident. Many witnesses to this case have expressed great concern that their identities will be disclosed publicly and make them susceptible to threats or intimidation as a result of their cooperation or connection with the investigation. This cooperation has been essential and greatly appreciated. As a result of the witnesses' concerns, this report will not identify lay witnesses, except where necessary. Consistent with Public Act 13-311, 10 exceptions to the State Freedom of Information Act and CGS SEs, 17A to 101 K12. This report will not list the names of the 20 children killed in 8 Newtown, Connecticut, is within the Judicial District of Danbury, Sandy Hook Elementary School, nor will it recite 911 calls made from within the school on that morning, or describe information provided by witnesses who were in the classrooms or heard what was occurring in the classrooms. It is not the intent of this report to convey every piece of information contained in the voluminous investigation materials developed by the Connecticut State Police and other law enforcement agencies, but to provide information relevant to the purposes of this report. Sandy Hook Elementary School, Incident and Response. Incident. On the morning of December 14, 2012, the shooter parked his 2010 Honda Civic next to a no parking zone outside of Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. 13. Shortly after 9:30 a.m., he approached the front entrance to the school. He was armed with a Bushmaster Model XM 15E2S rifle, a Glock 20, 10mm pistol, and a Sig Sauer, 226 9mm pistol. The doors to the school were locked, as they customarily were at this time, the school day having already begun. The shooter proceeded to shoot his way into the school building through the plate glass window to the right of the front lobby doors. The main office staff reported hearing noises and glass breaking at approximately 9:35 a.m. and saw the shooter, a white male with a hat and sunglasses, come into the school building with a rifle-type gun. The shooter walked normally, did not say anything, and appeared to be breathing normally. He was seen shooting the rifle down the hallway, just down the hallway from the main office, in the direction that the shooter was to be seen firing. A 9:30 a.m. planning and placement team meeting was being held in room 9, a conference room. It was attended by Principal Don Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlock, together with the parent and other school staff. Shortly after the meeting started, the attendees heard loud banging. The principal and school psychologist then left the room, followed shortly after by a staff member. After leaving the room, Mrs. Hochsprung yelled, "Stay put." As the staff member left the room, the staff member heard gunshots and saw Mrs. Hochsprung and Mrs. Sherlock fall down in front of the staff member. The staff member felt a gunshot hit the staff member's leg. Once down, the staff member was struck again by additional gunfire, but laid still in the hallway. Not seeing anyone in the hallway, the staff member crawled back into room 9 and held the door shut. A call to 911 was made, and in the ensuing moments, the telephone in room 9 was also used to turn on the school-wide intercom system. This appears to have been done inadvertently, but provided notice to other portions of the building. At the same time, the shooter was firing in the hallway. Another staff member was at the far east end of the hallway near classroom 1. The staff member was struck by a bullet in the foot and retreated into a classroom. Both Don Hochsprung, age 47, and Mary Sherlock, age 56, died as a result of being shot. Both wounded staff members shot in the hallway were later evacuated to the hospital and survived. After shooting and killing the 2 adults and wounding the 2 others, the shooter entered the main office. The office staff had taken shelter in the office. They heard sounds of the office door opening, footsteps walking inside the office and then back toward the office door. Staff members heard the door open a second time and then heard more gunfire from outside the office. They called 911. Where the shooter specifically went next is unclear. The evidence and witness statements established the shooter went down the hallway in an easterly direction, ultimately entering first-grade classrooms 8 and 10. The order is not definitively known. While in classrooms 8 and 10, the shooter shot and killed 4 adults and 20 children with the Bushmaster rifle. 12 children survived, 1 from classroom 8 and 11 from classroom 10. The shooter finally killed himself in classroom 10 with 1 gunshot to his head from a Glock 10 M&M pistol. This is believed to have occurred at 3.16. Classroom 8's substitute teacher was Lauren Rousseau, age 30, who was assisted by Rachel Davino, age 29, a behavioral therapist. 15 children were found by police. 14 who were deceased and 1 who was transported to Danbury Hospital and later pronounced dead. The 2 adults were found deceased close to the children. In all, 17 people were killed in classroom 8. A 16th child survived and exited classroom 8 after the police arrived. Classroom 10's teacher was Victoria Soto, age 27. Working with her was Anne Marie Murphy, age 52, a behavioral therapist. 5 children were found, with Mrs. Murphy partially covering 1 child. 4 of the 5 children were deceased. 1 of the 5 children was transported to the hospital and pronounced dead. Miss Soto was found deceased in the room near the north wall with a set of keys nearby. 9 children had run out of the room and survived. A police officer found 2 uninjured children in the class restroom. In all, 18 children and 6 adult school staff members were found deceased within the school. 2 more children were pronounced dead at Danbury Hospital. 2 other adult school staff members were injured and were treated at nearby hospitals and survived. The 2 classrooms on either side of 8 and 10 were numbered 6 and 12. Classroom 6 was on the eastern side of classroom 8, and classroom 12 was on the western side of classroom 10. Staff and students hid in the class restrooms, locking the restroom doors from the inside. Throughout the rest of the school, staff and students hid themselves wherever they happened to be at the time they became aware of gunfire. The staff used various ways to keep the children calm, from reading to having them color or draw pictures. Those hiding in rooms closest to the shooter kept silent. Some people were able to escape out of the police arrival and went to Sandy Hook Center, nearby residences, or received rides from parents going to the school or from passersby. 1 staff member heard a loud crashing noise and ran toward the front lobby. As the staff member got closer, bullet holes could be seen and gunpowder smelled. Realizing what was going on, the staff member immediately called 911, turned and went back down the hall from where the staff member had come. During the incident, while staying on the line with the 911 operator, this staff member sent other staff to their rooms, or had them stay in their rooms, and this staff member went about locking doors. The staff member remained in the hallway on the telephone with a 911 operator until the police arrived. Response. Upon the receipt of the first 911 call, law enforcement was immediately dispatched to the school. It was fewer than 4 minutes from the time the first 911 call was received until the first police officer arrived at Shees. It was fewer than 5 minutes from the time the first 911 call was received until the shooter killed him. It was fewer than 6 minutes from the time the first police officer arrived on Shees property to the time the first police officer entered the school building. Below is an abbreviated timeline from the first 911 call received to the time the police entered the school building. 9:35:39, first 911 call to Newtown Police Department is received. 9:36:6, Newtown Police Department dispatcher broadcasts that there is a shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. 9:37:38, Connecticut State Police are dispatched to Shees for active shooter. 9:38:50 CSP are informed that Shees is in lockdown. 9:39, first Newtown police officer arrives behind Shees on Crestwood R&D. 9:39:13, 2 more Newtown officers arrive at Shees and park on the driveway near the ball field. In the background, see page A84% of the appendix for full-time line put to get State Police West. 9:39:34, Newtown officer encounters unknown male running along the east side of Shees with something in his hand. 9:43, last gunshot is heard. This is believed to be the final suicide shot from the shooter in classroom 10. 9:41:7, information is relayed as to the location of the last known gunshots heard within Shees, the front of the building. Newtown officer has unknown male prone on ground. Starting information relay regarding possibly more than one shooter. Newtown officer calls out the license plate of the shooter's car. Newtown officers enter 6:23:7. Newtown officers enter Shees, as the gravity of the central agencies responded to the scene to assist. From the time the unknown male was encountered by the Newtown police outside of Shees until after the staff and children were evacuated, all responding law enforcement operated under the belief that there may have been more than one shooter, and acted accordingly. For example, K9 units were brought in to search the area, and officers were posted to act as lookouts to ensure the safety of those evacuating the school building. Some people were located in the areas surrounding the school, as the searches and evacuations were taking place. Some of those individuals were treated initially as suspects and handled accordingly, including being handcuffed, until their identities and reason for being there could be determined. Some of these detentions included 1. The initial unknown male who turned out to be a parent with a cell telephone in his hand. 2. 2 reporters located in the woods around Shees, who were held at gunpoint by Department of Energy and Environmental Protection police officers until their identities could be determined. And 3. A man from New York who was working in a nearby town and went to Shees after an application on his cell telephone alerted him to the situation at the school. He drove to the firehouse and went up to the school on foot. He was taken from the scene of the school in handcuffs and later to Newtown Police Department. It was later determined that he did not have a connection to the shooting and had gone to Shees to see what was going on. As noted above, on December 14, 2012, there was a concern that there may have been more than one shooter. This was based upon a number of factors. 1. The initial police encounter with the unknown male outside Shees. 2. Reports by school personnel during the shooting on a 911 call of seeing someone running outside the school while the shooting was ongoing. 3. The location of 2 black zip-up sweat jackets on the ground outside of the shooter's car. 4. The discovery of an Izimash Saiga 12-12 gauge shotgun and ammunition in the passenger compartment of the shooter's car. A police officer moved this shotgun and ammunition to the car's trunk for safety purposes. 5. Shell casings that were located outside of the school. And 6. The apparent sound of gunfire coming from outside of the school. The subsequent investigation revealed there were no additional shooters based upon 1. Searches of the area and examinations of local business security surveillance videos. 2. Persons detained revealed they were not connected to the shootings. In the case of the initial unknown male, he was identified as the parent of a student and had a cell telephone rather than a weapon in his hand. 3. Witness interviews which indicated that no witness saw anyone other than the shooter with a firearm. 4. Witness interviews in which it was determined that a number of She's staff had escaped from the school through a window and had been running outside the school building during the shootings. 5. The shotgun located in the shooter's car had been purchased by the shooter's mother previously. 6. The 2 sweat jackets were both C-Sport brand black, zip-up hooded sweat jackets with no size listed, and were located immediately outside the shooter's car. Both are believed to have been brought there by the shooter. 1. The live shotgun shells that were located inside and outside of the school were in locations where first responders had been. Additionally, there were first responders who reported missing live shotgun rounds. Moreover, the shells were found in locations where there had not been reported sightings of any non-law enforcement individuals. 8. There were no expended shotgun shells found in the actual crime scene, nor were any expended 12-gauge shotgun pellets or slugs recovered. 9. The only expended casings located outside of the school building were 5.56mm casings located just outside the school's front entrance, consistent with the shooter's entry into the school. And 10. The officer who heard what he believed to be outside gunfire was in a position to have heard the shooter's gunfire coming from window openings in the classroom in which the shooter was firing. Stopping the active shooter was the first priority. Once that occurred, the location and treatment of the victims, the search for additional shooters, and the safe evacuation of the school were of primary importance. The collection of evidence and the preservation and documentation of the crime scene, while important, came second. 2 command centers were set up, one at the firehouse on Riverside Road and the other at Newtown's Emergency Operations Center, located on the Newtown Fairfield Hills campus. In the week immediately after the shootings, services to victims, families, and victims, as well as support to the investigators in the school were handled out of the firehouse. All other aspects of the investigation not related to the school itself were run out of the Emergency Operations Center. Investigation responsibilities were handled as follows. 23. Connecticut State Police. CSP Western District Major Crime Squad was the lead CSP unit for the entire investigation and acted as the coordinating law enforcement agency for other agencies and units of the CSP. The van unit processed the interior of She's. CSP Central District Major Crime Squad van unit processed the exterior of She's, including the shooter's car, and established the temporary morgue with the OCME to identify and document the decedents prior to their being moved to the OCME in Farmington. CDMC also attended the autopsies at the OCME and did a secondary search of 36 Yogananda Street, as well as photographing doors and locks in She's. Eastern District Major Crime Squad processed the scene at 36 Yogananda Street and were the investigators for the shooting of Nancy Lanza, the shooter's mother. CSP Emergency Services Unit tactical teams were assigned to both She's and 36 Yogananda Street, handle the clearing of the scenes and rendering them safe. CSP, Troop A, Southbury and CSP from other troops and units, in addition to being first responders, worked to secure the scene and worked with WDMC and the OCME. Computer Crimes and Electronic Evidence Unit handled the seizure and examination of additional electronic evidence from 36 Yogananda Street together with EDMC, CDMC, and WDMC. CSP, Collision Analysis and Reconstruction Squad, was assigned to produce the sketch maps for both the interior and exterior of the school. CSP, on December 14, 2012, virtually every aspect of the CSP was engaged in the response to She's and 36 Yogananda Street. For example, included in the first responders were troopers and detectives, not only from Troop A in Southbury, but other troops and units as well, including the statewide Narcotics Task Force. Department of Energy and Environmental Protection provided first responders at She's. Forensic Science Laboratory, Division of Scientific Services, Department of Emergency Services, and Public Protection examined items seized and collected from She's and 36 Yogananda Street. Office of the Chief Medical Examiner was responsible for investigating the cause and manner of the deaths involved in this case, and worked with the CSP in setting up the temporary morgue at She's that was used to identify and document the deceased, prior to their being moved to Farmington. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, in addition to responding to both scenes, worked on the firearms aspect of the investigation. Federal Bureau of Investigation, in addition to responding to the scenes, handled interviewing of witnesses and investigation both at a local level and on a national level. The tactical team assisted with the clearing of the school. The Behavioral Analysis Unit, as part of the search warrant execution for 36 Yogananda Street, was provided with materials for review. They provided their expertise in the preparation of witness interviews. The Victim Assistance Unit worked with victims' families, victims, and witnesses. The United States Attorney's Office was stationed at the Emergency Operations Center, overseeing the investigation into the possible commission of federal crimes and the issuance of federal legal process, as well as coordinating the various federal agencies involved in assisting with the state investigation. United States Marshal Service Technical Operations Group provided technical and investigation assistance. United States Postal Service looked for mail that may have been relevant to the investigation. Municipal police departments from around the state assisted throughout the town of Newtown, including being first responders at She's, handling calls in town, and the tremendous inflow of media and visitors to the town in the weeks after December 14, 2012. Newtown Police Department, in addition to being first responders, worked to secure the scene and assisted WDMC. Office of the State's Attorney, Judicial District of Danbury, oversaw the state investigation, working with the Connecticut State Police. Together with the assistance of the Office of the Chief State's Attorney, the SAO was stationed at the Emergency Operations Center starting December 14, 2012, and oversaw the legal issues and state aspect of the investigation, including search warrant review, child witness issues, working with the federal authorities, etc. Sandy Hook Elementary School, scene investigation. On the afternoon of December 14, 2012, the WDMC and CDMC van units began documenting the crime scene and collecting evidence. The units could not begin this process until the scene was declared safe. The scene processing took 7 days. The scene was thoroughly processed, with the WDMC van unit handling the interior of She's and the CDMC van unit covering the exterior. This processing included extensive written documentation, as well as taking videos and thousands of photographs and measurements. In addition to the recovery of evidence, bullet trajectories were analyzed and documented. My description of the scene processing starts with the front entrance and moves into the school building itself. This does not necessarily reflect the actual order in which the crime scene was processed. Many descriptions come directly from the investigation reports, but are not in quotation marks to ease reading. The conditions of windows and doors were documented, but some may have been disturbed by police and emergency personnel during the emergency response and protective sweep of the building. Similarly, Other items of evidence, such as shell casings, may not have been found in their original positions because, as mentioned previously, the first priority was to locate and neutralize any active shooter, followed by the location and treatment of the victims, the search for additional shooters, and the safe evacuation of the school. Only then could evidence collection begin. Interior. Sandy Hook Elementary School was a one-story brick public school building of approximately 66,000 square feet, built in 1954. The building was on Dickus section of Newtown. The front of the building sat in a magnetic northeast direction, but will be considered north for the purposes of this report. See the diagram at page 19. Shees was rectangular in shape with 4 hallways in the main building and portable classrooms attached to the rear side which were accessed from the south side of the main building. Classrooms on the exterior walls had even numbers, and interior classrooms had odd numbers. Main entrance. The main entrance to the school was located next to the large glass window that the shooter shot out to enter the school. A patio area was just before the entrance doors. The entrance to the lobby consisted of 2 sets of locked full glass doors that opened outwardly using a pull handle. They were separated by a small vestibule. The doors were secured with an electronic locking mechanism. The doors could be opened from the inside with a horizontal push bar across the middle of the door. The broken area of the window that the shooter shot out measured approximately 35.33 inches wide and 42.5 inches high, had a call box buzzer system with a video camera. The call box was installed in 2005. The video camera did not record, but the video could be viewed live on 3 monitoring systems on the secretary's desks in the main office, with no recording capabilities. The electronic unlocking of the front doors was done by using a key button on any of the 3 monitoring systems. Glass shards were located just before and to the side of the outside entrance doors on the patio and plantings in the area and also on the floor in the lobby. 8 expended brass colored 5.56. M&M bullet casing stamped with SND 65.56 times were located in the area outside the broken window and front entrance doors. These were seized. The front entrance led into the school's lobby. The lobby measured approximately 28 feet north to south and 36 feet east to west. The southeast corner of the lobby allowed open access to the north hallway of the school. 16 brass-colored expended 5.56 millimeters bullet casings were located on the floor within the lobby area and were seized. Furniture in the lobby area had holes consistent with having been struck by a bullet. There were 11 damaged areas consistent with bullet strikes in the lobby. North hallway. The hallway on the north side of the building, where the shootings occurred, ran east to west and contained the lobby and main office, inside of which was the nurse's office. The hallway also contained rooms numbered 1 to 10, 11A to 5, and 12. The bulk of the scene processing occurred in this area. See the diagram on page 19. The ceiling in the lobby was 8 feet high, and the width of the hall was 8.5 feet. The even numbered rooms were on the north side of the hallway, with classroom 12 being the westernmost classroom and classroom 2 being the easternmost. The odd numbered rooms were on the south side of the hallway, with the main office being the westernmost room, and classroom 1 being the easternmost. East of the main office was a closet labeled 11A to 5 storage, and the east of the closet was a conference room identified as room 9. The doors in the hallway all locked from the outside with a key. The interior door handles had no locking mechanism. All of the doors opened outwardly toward the hallway. All doors were solid wood with a circular window in the upper half of the door. All classrooms in the north hallway had a restroom and a closet. The restrooms were uniformly designed, approximately 4 feet 7 inches by 3 feet 6 inches, with a solid wood door. The door of each restroom opened inward and away from the toilet. Each restroom door had a knob push-button lock on the inside handle and a key lock on the outside handle. The conference room did not have a restroom. Classrooms in the north hallway 12 and 10, 8 and 6, 6 and 4, and 3 and 5 respectively had an interior door that was shared by the 2 classrooms. 32, see the appendix at page 178 for an example of classroom door locks. The bodies of Mrs. Hochsprung and Mrs. Sherlock were located in the westernmost area of the north hallway, near the lobby. 1 brass-colored expended 5.56 millimeters casing was located and seized from the floor in the area of Mrs. Hochsprung and Mrs. Sherlock. In addition to the 5.56 millimeters ballistics, 1 10 millimeter shell casing was found in the north hallway and was later identified as having been fired from the Glock 20, 10 millimeters pistol found near the shooter. Conference room. Conference room 9 was on the south side of the north hallway on the opposite side of the hallway, and approximately 16 feet east of the door for classroom 12. The room had a telephone mounted in the center of the west wall. Classroom 12. Classroom 12 was located on the north side of the north hallway and was the first classroom east of the front lobby. The classroom door was located 23 feet east of the lobby. The window to the door was covered on the hallway side with dark-colored paper that was there from a previous lockdown drill. Classroom 10. Classroom 10 was located on the north side of the north hallway and was the second classroom east of the front lobby. The hallway door was approximately 27 feet east of classroom 12. The window was not completely covered, but did have a decoration over part of the inside of the window. The room measured 27 feet east to west and 30 feet north to south with carpeted floors and painted cinder block walls. There were large windows across the north wall, which provided a view into the front parking lot. Fluorescent ceiling lights turned on automatically when the room was entered. As mentioned previously, there was a restroom in the room and a closet. This closet door had no lock. The door that provided access to classroom 12 was on the center of the west wall. This had a key lock on both sides and the door was unlocked. There was a telephone mounted on the south side of the east wall north of the closet. An emergency response packet plan was hanging on the south wall. The packet was above a map depicting the emergency evacuation route for this classroom. The classroom door that opened into the north hallway could only be locked with a key from the outside. The door was unlocked with no signs of forced entry. In the window area for classroom 10, there were no less than 9 holes, consistent with being bullet holes. Investigators conducted a trajectory analysis of the shots that went through the window area of classroom 10. No determination could be made as to whether the shots through the window area were intended for the outside of the building. In other words, it could not be determined whether the shooter, while in classroom 10, had intentionally fired at something or. 34, see the appendix starting at page 130 for a description of the ballistics evidence from the north hallway. Someone outside of the building. There was no indication that any shots through the window area of classroom 10 came from outside of the school. All of the evidence indicates that shots went out of the window area of classroom 10 and into the parking area north of the school. Classroom 10 evidence is further described below. Classroom 8. Classroom 8 was located on the north side of the north hallway and was the third classroom east of the front lobby, with its entrance door approximately 27 feet east of classroom 10. As with the others, its classroom door opened out into the hallway and could only be locked from the hallway side with a key. The window was not covered. The classroom door to the hallway with no signs of forced entry. The room dimensions and construction were similar to those of classrooms 10 and 12. There was also a restroom in this classroom. The closet door in classroom 8 had no locking device. There were also large glass windows across the north wall, providing a view into the front parking lot of the school. There was a wall telephone in the room on the south side of the east wall, north of the closet. An emergency response plan packet was hanging on the south wall adjacent to the east side of the entrance door. This packet was above a map depicting the emergency evacuation route for the classroom. The door that connected into classroom 6 was on the north side of the east wall, had key locks on both sides of the door. The door was unlocked. Ballistic evidence located in classroom 8 is described in the appendix at page 134, which includes a total of 24 rounds of 5.56mm ammunition found, of which 10 rounds were in one PMag 30 magazine, 13 rounds were in another such magazine, and one live round was on the floor. There was a third empty PMag 30 magazine seized. There were a total of 80 expended 5.56mm casings seized from classroom 8, classrooms 6 and 4. Located on the floor of classroom 6 was one live round Federal Tactical 12-gauge shotgun slug shell. This shotgun shell was made of clear like plastic and was different in color from the shotgun shell that was seized on the shooter's person. On the floor of classroom 4 was a blue-colored 12-gauge slug shotgun shell with the word Federal Premium Tactical Rifled Slug stamped on the side and 12GA Made in USA stamped on the head of the shell. This shotgun shell was made of a blue-colored plastic and also was different in color from the shotgun shell that was shooter's person. As mentioned previously, the loose shotgun shells not found on the shooter were in locations where first responders had been and had reported missing shotgun shells. Additionally, there were no witness reports of any persons being seen with firearms other than first responders in those locations. There were no expended shotgun shell casings or projectiles recovered at the scene, and the live shotgun shell on the shooter's person and those recovered from his car did not match any of those recovered from the 3 locations. No shotgun was recovered from the school. It is believed that these live shells were dropped by first responders. Shooter. Responding police officers found the shooter in classroom 10 northwest of the hallway entrance dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was wearing a pale green pocket vest over a black polo-style short-sleeve shirt over a black t-shirt. He had yellow-colored earplugs in each ear. He was wearing black cargo pocket pants, black socks, black sneakers, a black canvas belt, and black fingerless gloves on each hand. He had an empty camouflage drop holster that was affixed to his right thigh. After all of the victims were removed from the school, the shooter's body was removed once all firearms and ballistic evidence were recovered from his person. The body was moved to the OCME on December 15, 2012. Weapons on shooter and ammunition in classroom 10. The weapons on the shooter, together with a description of items seized related to the shooting, are contained in the appendix starting at page 136. On the shooter's person was a loaded semi-automatic Sig Sauer P226 9mm pistol and additional ammunition. Located near the shooter was a partially loaded Glock 20 10mm semi-automatic pistol that appeared to be jammed. A Bushmaster model XM15E2S rifle was located some distance away from the shooter. The rifle's shoulder strap was attached in the front, but disconnected at the butt of the rifle. The disconnected rear portion was the result of a failed nut attachment. It is unknown if the nut failed while the rifle was being used or as the result of being dropped or thrown to the floor. The Bushmaster rifle was found with the safety in the fire position. There was one live 5.56mm round in the chamber and one PMag 30 magazine in the magazine well. The magazine contained 14 live 5.56mm rounds of ammunition. The rifle did not appear to have malfunctioned when observed by the WDMC van unit, but a CSPSU report described the weapon as appearing to have jammed. When tested later, the rifle functioned properly. 2 empty PMag 30 magazines that were duct taped together in a tactical configuration and one live 5.56mm round were found near the rifle. Officers found 253 live rounds on the shooter's body, 116 9mm rounds, 75 rounds of 10mm, 61 rounds of 5.56mm, and one 12-gauge shotgun shell. Officers also seized 46 5.56mm live rounds. This consisted of 15% from the rifle, 1 from the floor, and 30 from the magazine under the body of the shooter, as well as 13 10mm live rounds. There were 49 expended 5.56mm casings seized and one 10mm casing from classroom 10. Total live rounds seized were 312, and total expended casings seized from classroom 10 were 50. Exterior. CDMC processed the exterior of Shee's shooter's car. The shooter's car was found parked in front of the school, west of the front entrance, next to a no parking zone. It was a black 2010 Honda Civic with Connecticut registration 872 UO. The car was registered to his mother, Nancy Lanza, but had been purchased for him. Recovered from the car was an Izmash Saiga 12-gauge shotgun with 2 magazines containing a total of 20 rounds of ammunition. The shotgun and ammunition were originally seen in the passenger compartment of the car and were moved by police to the car's trunk for safekeeping during the initial response and evacuation. Parking lot. There were a number of cars parked in the north parking lot of Shee's. 3 of these cars were struck by gunfire. None of the cars struck belonged to law enforcement. A total of 5 strikes to those 3 cars were identified as having come from classroom 10. It could not be determined whether these shots were intended to go outside of the classroom. Also found in the north parking lot was a shotgun shell that was dropped by a first responder. Sandy Hook Elementary School, autopsy information. Deceased victims were removed from the school building to a large military-style tent located in the north parking lot near the front of the school. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner sought to make positive identification of the victims through photos, school records, and personal and clothing descriptions. On Saturday, December 15, 2012, all of the victims were transported to the OCME in Farmington for autopsies. Autopsies were performed the same day. The cause of death for all of the victims was determined to have been gunshot wounds. The manner of death was determined to have been homicide. Evidence collected during the autopsies was turned over to CDMC and forwarded to the Division of Scientific Services for examination. The evidence examination section of this report contains a summary of the results. 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown, CT, incident and response. Incident. Sometime on the morning of December 14, 2012, before 9:30 a.m., the shooter shot and killed his mother, Nancy Lanza, in her bed at 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown. The weapon used was a caliber Savage Mark II rifle. Someone in the area reported hearing 2 or 3 gunshots in the neighborhood between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. That person thought them to be from hunters, though the person indicated the shots did sound unusually close. Between 9:30 a.m. and 10 a.m., there was a delivery made to the house. The delivery driver saw no one, did not see any vehicles in the driveway, and the garage door was closed. A delivery slip was left, and the driver continued on. The mother was found by police dead in her bed when they entered the house. The rifle was found on the floor next to the bed. Response. Once it was determined that the shooter's car was registered to his mother at 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown, Connecticut, the Newtown police went to the house and evacuated the surrounding homes. The CSPSU came to the scene to clear the residents of potential hazards, such as booby traps or tripwires. 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown CT scene investigation. After the body of the shooter's mother was found and the scene declared safe, the process of obtaining search warrants for the house began, with the first warrant being reviewed and signed by a judge of the Superior Court at 5:29 p.m. on December 14, 2012, at the Emergency Operations Center. Additional search warrants were approved and issued as the search disclosed additional evidence. The investigation of the shooter's mother's killing and the scene processing was done by EDMC, and the search for evidence at 36 Yogananda Street related to the shootings at JT's was investigated by both CDMC and WDMC. A list of the items seized from the home is contained in the search warrant returns in the appendix, with some descriptions in the digital image report, starting at page 188 in the appendix. Savage Mark II rifle was found near her bed and seized. In the chamber of the rifle was a spent cal shell casing and 3 live rounds were in the magazine. 3 other spent cal shell casings were found in the room and seized. The shooter's second floor bedroom windows were taped over with black trash bags. The second floor computer room also had its windows covered. There, investigators found a computer hard drive that appeared to have been intentionally damaged. To date, because of the extensive damage, forensic experts have not yet been able to recover any information from that hard drive. In a typical criminal case, the investigation would remain open when potentially important evidence was still being examined. Given the improbability of any information being recovered from the damaged hard drive, this outstanding piece of evidence is not preventing the closure of this case now. Should any relevant information related to the existence of any accessory or co-conspirator be obtained from the hard drive, the case will be reopened. Investigators found a large number of firearms and related items in the home. All firearms involved in these incidents were legally purchased by the shooter's mother over the years. The home also contained many edged weapons, knives, swords, spears, etc. A prescription bottle in the shooter's name for acetaminophen with codeine was found in the mother's bathroom, which was part of the master bedroom. During the search of 36 Yogananda Street, a global positioning system device was located in the shooter's room with various routes in the memory from April 25, 2012 through December 13, 2012. Investigation revealed that the GPS was purchased for the shooter. The routes taken indicate a number of trips from 36 Yogananda Street to the area of a local theater where a commercial version of the game Dance Dance Revolution is located. Over that time period, trips were made that took the driver in the vicinity of some schools in Newtown, including Shees. On December 13, 2012, a trip was recorded from 2:09 p.m. to 2:32 p.m., starting and ending on Yogananda Street and driving in Sandy Hook, which is in the area of Shees, though the route does not indicate the shooter drove up to the school. Numerous video games were located in the basement computer gaming area. The list of video games includes Left 4 Dead, Metal Gear Solid, Dead Rising, Half-Life, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Shin Megami Tensei, Dynasty Warriors, Vice City, Team Fortress, Doom. Other items found and noted for this report are a Christmas check from the mother to the shooter to purchase a CZ-83 firearm 39, a New York Times article from February 18, 2008, regarding the school shooting at Northern Illinois University, 3 photographs of what appeared to be a dead human, covered in blood and wrapped in plastic. The book Amish Grace, How Forgiveness Transcended Tragedy, Jossie Bass, 2007, by Donald B. Craybill, Stephen Nolt, and David Weaver Zurcher, and photocopied newspaper articles from 1891 pertaining to the shooting of schoolchildren. While the vast majority of persons interviewed had no explanation for the shooter's actions, a review of electronic evidence or digital media that appeared to belong to the shooter revealed that the shooter had a preoccupation with mass shootings, in particular the Columbine shootings, and a strong interest in firearms. For example, there was a spreadsheet with mass murders over the years listing information about each shooting. The review of the electronic evidence also found many things that are on a typical hard drive or memory card that would probably have no relevance to the investigation, either because of creation date or subject matter. That being said, the following selected topics or items were found within the digital evidence seized. Bookmarks pertaining to firearms, military, politics, mass murder, video games, music, books, Army Ranger, computers and programs, ammunition, candy, economic books. Web page design folders. 2 videos showing suicide by gunshot. Commercial movies depicting mass shootings. The computer game titled School Shooting, where the player controls a character who enters a school and shoots at students. Screenshots of the online game, Combat Arms. Dance Dance Revolution, game screenshots. Videos of shooter playing DDR. Images of the shooter holding a handgun to his head. Images of the shooter holding a rifle to his head. 5-second video depicting children being shot. Images of shooter with a rifle, shotgun, and numerous magazines in his pockets. Documents on weapons and magazine capacity. A document written showing the prerequisites for a mass murder spreadsheet. A spreadsheet listing mass murders by name and information about the incident. Materials regarding the topic of pedophilia and advocating for rights for pedophiles 42. Large amount of materials relating to Columbine shootings and documents on mass murders. Large amount of materials on firearms. Comedy videos. Music. Images of hamsters. Images of Lego creations. 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown CT. Autopsy information. The OCM performed an autopsy on the body of Nancy Lanza, age 52, on December 16, 2012, at the OCME. The cause of death was determined to be multiple gunshots to the head. The manner of death was homicide. Shooter, autopsy information. The autopsy of the shooter was conducted on December 16, 2012, at the OCME. The shooter, age 20, was 72 inches tall and weighed 112 pounds. No drugs were found in the shooter's system. The cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the head. The manner of death was suicide. Investigation to determine accessories and or co-conspirators. The investigation sought to determine if the shooter was aided by or had conspired with anyone to commit these crimes. As detailed above, none of the persons found in the vicinity of Shees on December 14, 2012, played any role in the shootings. Most were attempting to escape the area. Others were responding to the school after learning of the shootings. None had any association with the shooter. Investigators then sought to determine if anyone had conspired with or aided the shooter before the shootings. To that end, investigators examined social contacts, writings, emails, internet blogs, telephone records, and his general internet presence. One of the internet blogs on which the shooter posted focused on mass shootings, and in particular the Columbine shootings. The shooter also exchanged emails with others who were interested in the topic of mass shootings. None of these communications, however, related to Shees or in any way suggested that the shooter intended to commit a mass shooting. Thus, the evidence as developed to date does not demonstrate that any of those with whom he communicated conspired with the shooter or criminally aided and abetted him in committing the murders on December 14, 2012. Events and background information leading up to December 14th, 2012. Recent background information. As of December 14th, 2012, the shooter and his mother lived at 30 Suter and his mother had resided in the house for an extended time. Both the shooter's and his mother's bedrooms were on the second floor, the master bedroom. In November 2012, the mother sought to buy the shooter for the shooter to build one himself. She was concerned about him and said that he hadn't gone anywhere in 3 months and would only communicate with her by email, though they were living in the same house. The mother never expressed fear of the shooter, for her own safety or that of anyone else. The mother said that she had plans to sell her home in Newtown and move to either Washington State or North Carolina. She reportedly had told the shooter of this plan, and he apparently stated that he wanted to move to Washington. The intention was for the shooter to go to a special school in Washington or get a computer job in North Carolina. In order to effectuate the move, the mother planned to purchase a recreational vehicle to facilitate the showing and sale of the house and the eventual move to another state. The RV would provide the shooter with a place to sleep, as he would not sleep in a hotel. In fact, during Hurricane Sandy in October 2012, with no power in the house, the shooter refused to leave the home and go to a hotel. The mother wanted to buy the shooter a CZ-83 pistol for Christmas and had prepared a check for that purchase to give the shooter. On December 10th, 2012, the mother indicated to a friend that the shooter had bumped his head badly. There was some bleeding, but he was okay. This appeared to have occurred at 5:30 a.m. She then prepared for her trip to New Hampshire and cooked for the shooter before she left, leaving him his favorites. During the week of December 10th, 2012, the shooter's mother was out of town in New Hampshire. She arrived home Thursday evening, December 13th, 2012, at approximately 10 p.m., as mentioned above. The GPS found in the home revealed that on Thursday, December 13th, 2012, the device was used. It recorded a trip from and back to 36 Yogananda Street with a route in the Sandy Hook area of Newtown between 2:09 p.m. and 2:32 p.m. The GPS driver drove up to Shees. Presumably, this was the shooter driving the black Honda Civic, as this would have been the only car available to the shooter, and it was reportedly his, having been purchased for him. General background information. Investigated many interviews with persons who knew the shooter and members of his family. As explained above, they did so principally to determine if anyone had conspired with the shooter or aided his crimes, but they also sought to ascertain what might have motivated him to murder children and their teachers and his mother. The first question was whether the shooter had a reason specifically to target Shees or any student, teacher, or employee. No evidence suggests that he did. In fact, as best as can be determined, the shooter had no prior contact with anyone in the school that day, and apart from having attended the school as a child, he appears to have had no continuing involvement with Shees. More generally, those who knew the shooter describe him in contradictory ways. He was undoubtedly afflicted with mental health problems, yet despite a fascination with mass shootings and firearms, he displayed no aggressive or threatening tendencies. In some contexts, he was viewed as having above-average intelligence, in others below average. Some recalled that the shooter had been bullied, but others, including many teachers, saw nothing of the sort. With some people, he could talk with them and be humorous, but many others saw the shooter as unemotional, distant, and remote. What follows are some observations that investigators developed in attempting to determine the shooter's motive. Parents. The shooter's mother and father, Peter Lanza, had been married to each other. They moved from New Hampshire to the Sandy Hook section of Newtown in 1998. In addition to the shooter, they had another son, Ryan Lanza, who was 4 years older than the shooter. In 2001, the shooter's parents separated. The children continued to reside with the mother. The parents subsequently divorced. The father remarried in 2011, the mother never remarried. After college, the brother moved out of state. He reached out to the shooter a few times, but the shooter did not respond. As of December 14th, 2012, the older brother had not had contact with the shooter since 2010. The brother believed that the shooter and his mother had a close relationship. After his older brother left for college, the shooter reportedly became interested in firearms and at one point considered joining the military. Both the shooter's mother and father indicated that the shooter was bullied growing up. The father indicated that it was not excessive and concerned his social awkwardness and physical gait. As expanded upon in the education and mental health section below, other witnesses did not recall the shooter being overtly bullied. Nonetheless, the shooter appears to have had few friends growing up. The shooter's father saw him regularly until he turned 18. They would go hiking, play video games, and other activities. They went shooting twice. The shooter had a cell phone but never used it. Calls all went to voicemail. His father would just email him when he wanted to reach him. The shooter's relationship with his father deteriorated in the last quarter of 2010, and the father last saw the shooter. In that year after that, the father would reach out to the shooter by mail or through emails regularly, asking him to join him at various places for different activities. The shooter stopped responding at some point prior to December 2012. One witness who knew the shooter in 2011 and 2012 said that he rarely mentioned his father or his brother, though he would mention briefly something he did with his father or brother in the past. While it appears that the shooter's mother did volunteer at Shees, it was when the shooter was a student. There is no indication that she volunteered there in recent years. The mother took care of all of the shooter's needs. The mother indicated that she did not work because of her son's condition. She worried about what would happen to the shooter if anything happened to her. One witness indicated that the shooter did not have an emotional connection to his mother. Recently, when his mother asked him if he would feel bad if anything happened to her, he replied, no. Others, however, have indicated that they thought the shooter was close to his mother, and she was the only person to whom the shooter would talk. A person who knew the shooter in 2011 and 2012 said the shooter described his relationship with his mother as strained, because the shooter said her behavior was not rational. The shooter was particular about the food that he ate and its arrangement on a plate in relation to other foods on the plate. Certain types of dishware could not be used for particular foods. The mother would shop for him and cook to the shooter's specifications, though sometimes he would cook for himself. Reportedly, the shooter did not drink alcohol, take drugs, prescription or otherwise, and hated the thought of doing any of those things. The mother did the shooter's laundry on a daily basis, as the shooter often changed clothing during the day. She was not allowed in the shooter's room, however, even to clean. No one was allowed in his room. The shooter disliked birthdays, Christmas, and holidays. He would not allow his mother to put up a Christmas tree. The mother explained it by saying that shooter had no emotions or feelings. The mother also got rid of a cat because the shooter did not want it in the house. People outside the family. When the shooter had his hair cut, he did not like to be touched and did not like the sound of clippers, so they were not used much. He would sit with his hands in his lap and always look down, giving one-word answers if the cutter tried to engage him in conversation. Those who worked on the property at 36 Yogananda Street never entered the home. They spoke with the mother outside in the yard or at the bottom of driveway. They were instructed never to ring the doorbell and to make prior arrangements before using power equipment as her son had issues with loud noises. The shooter was observed at times coming and going from the residence. There were a number of people who knew the mother over the years, some fairly well, who had never met the shooter, although were aware of his existence and had never been inside her residence. Shooter's interests. Over the years, his hobbies included building computers, writing poetry, and hiking. The shooter worked briefly at a computer repair shop. When he was younger, he played the saxophone. The shooter had a cell phone but never used it. Shooting was a pastime in which the family engaged. Over the years, the shooter enjoyed target shooting and would go to a range with his brother and mother. The mother had grown up with firearms and had a pistol permit. The shooter did not. Both the mother and the shooter took National Rifle Association safety courses. The mother thought it was good to learn responsibility for guns. Both would shoot pistols and rifles at a local range, and the shooter was described as quiet and polite. He played video games often, both solo at home and online. They could be described as both violent and nonviolent. One person described the shooter as spending the majority of his time playing nonviolent video games all day, with his favorite at one point being Super Mario Bros. Another said he used the computer to play games online and communicate. Sometimes the shooter would not respond to emails and be unavailable for a couple of weeks. The shooter explained that he was moping around. The shooter frequently formatted the hard drive of his computer and minimizing his internet trace. Initially, the shooter did not drive, but he eventually got a driver's license and the Honda was purchased for him. The shooter was issued a driver's license in July 2010. The shooter liked to play a game called Dance Dance Revolution, which is a music video game in which the player stands on a platform, watches a video screen, and moves his feet, as directed by the video. A home version of this was seen and photographed in the shooter's home. Several videos of him playing DDR were found on digital media taken from the home. The GPS found in the home and reportedly belonging to the shooter indicated that he regularly went to the area of a theater that had a commercial version of the DDR game in the lobby. In 2011, and up until a month before December 14, 2012, the shooter went to the theater and played the game. He went most every Friday through Sunday and played the game for 4 to 10 hours. The shooter was specific about the clothes he wore. He typically wore the same clothing, when at the theater, a gray hoodie and slacks. After a snowstorm in 2011, the shooter was not seen at the theater until about February 2012. At that time, he seemed more antisocial and no longer played DDR with others. An acquaintance of the shooter from 2012 said that the shooter and the acquaintance played DDR quite a bit. They would play the game and occasionally see a movie. They did not play first-person shooter games at the theater. The shooter had stamina for DDR and never appeared winded unless really exhausted. The acquaintance said the shooter seemed to enjoy nature and mentioned the possibility of going hiking more than once. The shooter was capable of laughing, smiling, and making jokes, though always in a dry fashion. The shooter never mentioned being bullied while growing up. Topics of conversation included world and current events, and included chimpanzee society and how they interacted. In the course of their conversations, the shooter indicated that he had an interest in mass murders and serial killing. They never spent a lot of time discussing them, but it would be a topic of conversation. There were no conversations about weapons or shooting at a gun range. Shooter, education, and mental health. The following background information is compiled from a variety of sources and may at times appear to be inconsistent. This is a function of the differing perspectives of those interviewed. The information also varied based upon the time period during which the witness knew or associated with the shooter or his family. The shooter went through the Newtown public school system, though part of 7th grade and part of 8th grade were done at St. Rose of Lima School in Newtown. Should attend SHES from 1998 to 2003, the 1st through 5th grade, he was never assigned to the classrooms where the shootings occurred. The shooter went for walks with his family around and near SHES after he had gotten out of the school. The shooter indicated that he loved the school and liked to go there. According to some, the shooter was more social when he first moved to Connecticut and was younger. He would attend play groups and parties. The early school years have him portrayed as a nice kid, though sort of withdrawn. He loved music and played saxophone. As he got older, his condition seemed to worsen. He became more of a loner. As the shooter got into the higher grades of middle school, he did not like noise and confusion and began to have issues when he had to walk to different classes. As a result, in high school, the shooter was homeschooled for a period of time. Though not in a mainstream setting, he could sit through a quiet lecture. The mother drove the shooter where he needed to go. He did not want to go to events with crowds. He attended Newtown High School with a combination of homeschooling, tutoring, and classes at NHS and Western Connecticut State University. At NHS, he was considered a special education student. Having enough credits, the shooter graduated from NHS in 2009. He continued to take classes at WCSU after high school graduation. Various witnesses made the following observations about the shooter through his school years. 1. In the 2002 to 2003 school year, when the shooter was in the 5th grade, he was quiet, reluctant, very bright, and had good ideas regarding creative writing. He wouldn't necessarily engage in conversation, but wouldn't ignore one. There was no recollection of him being bullied or teased. 2. The 5th grade was also the year that, related to a class project, the shooter produced the Big Book of Granny, in which the main character has a gun in her cane and shoots people. The story includes violence against children. There's no indication this was ever handed into the school. 3. In the 5th grade, the shooter indicated that he did not like sports, did not think highly of himself, and believed that everyone else in the world deserved more than he did. 4. In intermediate school from 2002 to 2004, he was a quiet, shy boy who participated in class and listened. He did not show enthusiasm, extreme happiness, or extreme sadness. He was neutral. 5. In the 5th and 6th grades from 2003 to 2004, the shooter participated in concerts at school. He was not remembered by the teacher as having been bullied, and the shooter had at least one friend. 6. A 6th grade teacher described the shooter as an average student with A's and B's. Homework was never an issue. The shooter never made trouble or distracted others. He had friends and was friendly to others. He was a normal child with no oddities and there were no reports of bullying or teasing. 7. In 2004, while at the intermediate school, he was described as respectful and cooperated with others. 8. One person who remembered him from the middle school never saw the shooter bullied. 9. In 7th grade, a teacher described the shooter as intelligent but not normal, with antisocial issues. He was quiet, barely spoke, and did not want to participate in anything. His writing assignments obsessed about battles, destruction, and war, far more than others his age. The level of violence in the writing was disturbing. At the same time, when asked to write a poem, he was able to write a beautiful one and presented it in public. 10. In the 9th and 10th grades, the shooter was reclusive, shutting himself in the bedroom and playing video games all day. In the upper classes, the shooter compiled a journal instead of attending physical education. In high school, the shooter did not have good social skills. He did not show any signs of violence. 12. In high school, the shooter would have episodes 49, and his mother would be called to the school. The episodes would last about 15 minutes each. There were no signs of violence during any of these episodes, and the shooter was more likely to be victimized than to act in violence against another. In high school, the shooter was not willing to talk much, hard to communicate with, and had poor social skills. He often became withdrawn in a social environment. The shooter would have both inclusive class time and leave the class for specialized sessions. 14. At NHS, the shooter was in the tech club in 2007 to 2008. He was remembered in a variety of ways, including as a quiet person who was smart. He wore the same clothing repeatedly and might not speak to you, even if you were talking to him. He was not remembered to have been bullied or to have spoken about violence. The advisor looked out for him and tried to have him included wherever possible. He was also remembered for pulling his sleeves over his hand to touch something. He was not known to be a violent kid at all and never spoke of violence. 15. The shooter had a LAN party at his home in 2008 with tech club members. No firearms were seen at the shooter's home. 16. In terms of video games, the shooter liked to play Phantasy Star Online, Paper Mario, Luigi's Mansion, and Pikmin. He also liked Japanese animated films and television. Over the years from the late 1990s and into the 2000s, the shooter had evaluations of various types, some of which were available to the investigators. In the late 1990s, he was described as having speech and language needs. At that time, he was also being followed medically for seizure activities. In preschool, his conduct included repetitive behaviors, temper tantrums, smelling things that were not there, excessive hand-washing, and eating idiosyncrasies. In 2005, the shooter was diagnosed with Asperger's disorder and was described as presenting with significant social impairments and extreme anxiety. It was also noted that he lacked empathy and had very rigid thought processes. He had a literal interpretation of written and verbal material. In the school setting, the shooter had extreme anxiety and discomfort with changes, noise, and physical contact with others. In 2006, the shooter had an overall IQ in the average range. He had no learning disability. Depending on the psychological test taken, he could be average, below average, or above average. Testing that required the touching of objects could not be done. It was reported that his school issues related to his identified emotional and/or pervasive developmental disorder spectrum behaviors. His high level of anxiety, Asperger's characteristics, obsessive-compulsive disorder concerns, and sensory issues all impacted his performance to a significant degree, limiting his participation in a general education curriculum. Tutoring, desensitization, and medication were recommended. It was suggested that he would benefit by continuing to be eased into more regular classroom time and increasing exposure to routine events at school. The shooter refused to take suggested medication and did not engage in suggested behavior therapies. Over the years, his mother consistently described the shooter as having Asperger's syndrome. She had a number of books in the home on the topic. She also described the shooter as being unable to make eye contact, sensitive to light, and couldn't stand to be touched. Over time, he had multiple daily rituals, an inability to touch doorknobs, repeated hand washing, and obsessive clothes changing, to the point that his mother was frequently doing laundry. In 2006, the shooter's mother noted that there were marked changes to the shooter's behavior around the 7th grade. Prior to that, he would ride his bike and do adventurous things such as climbing trees or climbing a mountain. He had stopped playing the saxophone. He had been in a school band but dropped out. He had withdrawn from playing soccer or baseball, which he said he did not enjoy. It is important to note that it is unknown what contribution, if any, the shooter's mental health issues made to his attack on Shekis. Those mental health professionals who saw him did not see anything that would have predicted his future behavior. Evidence examination. Electronics. Examinations of the following seized items were done by the WDMC squad and the Computer Crimes and Electronic Evidence Laboratory of the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Sony PlayStation 2, an older game's history was found. Games located included Dynasty Tactics, Kingdom Hearts 2, Onimusha, Dynasty Warriors, and The Two Towers. The PlayStation 2 games could not be played with others over the internet. Xbox, a game history for the console and an indication of an Xbox Live user account were found. Games found in the gaming history included Call of Duty 2, Big Red One, Call of Duty, Finest Hour, Dead or Alive 3, Halo, Halo 2, Lego Star Wars, Mech Assault, Mercenaries, MGS2 Substance, Panzer Dragoon Orta, PSO, Shenmue 2, Spider-Man, Splinter Cell 2, Splinter Cell CT, Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Republic Commando, Tenchu, Return from Darkness, The Return of the King, and Worms Forts Under Siege. It was noted on both of the above items that the gaming history found may not be the complete history of those actually played. No evidence regarding the existence of any accessories or co-conspirators was found. Xbox 360 found to be damaged and inoperable. Firearms and related evidence. Of the firearms seized in this case, 5 are directly involved, 4 from Shees and 1 from 36 Yogananda Street. History. All of the firearms below and involved in these cases were legally purchased by the shooter's mother. Additionally, ammunition of the type used in these cases had been purchased by the shooter's mother in the past. There's no reason to believe the ammunition used here was purchased by anyone else. The evidence does not show any ammunition purchases by the shooter. The shooter did not have a permit to carry a pistol, nor had he ever had one. His mother had a valid pistol permit. A pistol is defined as any firearm having a barrel less than 12 inches. 52, both the Glock 20 and the Sig Sauer P226 qualify as pistols. They are firearms and their barrel lengths were less than 12 inches. Firearms, recovered bullets and fragments. Recovered from shooter's Honda Civic outside of Shees. Izmash Saiga, 12-gauge, semi-automatic shotgun, the Izmash Saiga 12 was found in the shooter's Honda Civic that was parked outside Shees. It was tested and found to be operable without malfunction. There was no physical evidence indicating this weapon had been fired at Shees. That is, the bullets, bullet fragments, and expended shell casings recovered at the scene, and from the Okimi could not have been fired from this weapon. Recovered from Classroom 10, Shees. Bushmaster Model XM15E2S semi-automatic rifle. The Bushmaster rifle was found in Classroom 10. The Bushmaster was tested and found to be operable without malfunction. All of the 5.56mm shell casings from Shees that were tested were found to have been fired from this rifle. All of the bullets and fragments recovered from Shees and the Okimi that were tested, with the exception of those mentioned immediately below, are consistent with having been fired from the Bushmaster rifle. They could not have been fired from the Saiga 12, the Glock 20, or the Sig Sauer P226. Glock 20, 10mm semi-automatic pistol. The Glock 20 was found in Classroom 10. It was tested and found to be operable without malfunction. It was found to have fired both of the 10mm shell casings recovered at Shez. It was consistent with having fired the bullet that was recovered from the ceiling of Classroom 8 in a location along the trajectory of the suicide shot of the shooter in Classroom 10. It could have fired the 3 bullet fragments recovered from Classroom 10. The 3 fragments together weigh less than 1 bullet and are presumed to have been parts of the same 1 bullet. Though all lack sufficient striate for a positive identification, all had polygonal rifling consistent with the Glock 20. They could not have been fired from the Saiga 12. They could not have been fired from the Sig Sauer P226, 9mm semi-automatic pistol. The Sig Sauer P226 was tested and found to be operable without malfunction. There was no physical evidence found indicating that this weapon had been fired at Shees, that is, casings, bullets, and bullet fragments recovered at the scene, and from the Okami could not have been fired from this weapon. The total weight of the guns and ammunition from the shooter at Shees was 30.47 pounds. Recovered from 36 Yogananda Street, Newtown, CT Savage, Mark II, Cal. Long rifle, bolt action. The Savage Mark II rifle was found on the floor of the master bedroom near the bed where the body of the shooter's mother was found. The rifle was found to be operable without malfunction. The rifle was found to have fired the .22 cal. Casing recovered from the rifle's chamber and the .322 cal. Casings found in the master bedroom. The rifle also was found to have fired the 4 bullets recovered during the autopsy of the shooter's mother. Other testing. In the course of the investigation, swabbings to test for DNA were taken from various pieces of evidence in the case, both at Sandy Hook Elementary School and 36 Yogananda Street. The purpose was to determine if anyone else had actively been involved in the planning or carrying out of the shootings. These swabbings were tested and compared to known samples in the case, and no potential accessories or co-conspirators were revealed by the testing. 55 miscellaneous investigative leads. In the course of the investigation, law enforcement personnel received a large number of contacts purporting to provide information on the shootings and the shooter. This applied to both state and federal law enforcement. Information that was substantiated and relevant was made part of the investigation. Other information, after investigation, was not substantiated. Typically, someone would call the CSP and leave a message that they had information relevant to the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary School. In an abundance of caution, a detective was assigned to follow up on every lead, regardless of its presumed validity. Some of the more than 40 unsubstantiated leads and information are described below because of their nature or mention in investigation documents. 1. In the December 14, 2012, 7:25 p.m. search warrant for 36 Yogananda Street, paragraphs 8 and 9 read as follows. 8. That investigators determined that on December 12, 2012, an individual logged onto a website called 4chan.com and anonymously posted, "I'm going to kill myself on Friday, and it will make the news. Be watching at 9 a.m. That another anonymous individual asked, "Where at?" The first individual responded, "I live in Connecticut, that's as much as I'll say." 9. That additionally, on December 14, 2012, a concerned individual in Texas contacted the Hartford Police Department and reported that her son was playing a video game named Call of Duty approximately 20 hours ago. She continued that a gamer with the screen name I3 Emma Girls stated, "Next week, or very soon, there may be a shooting at my school and other schools, so if I die, remember me PLZ if I don't get on for 3 to 5. Not including weeks, that means I died, and EM being 100% serious." The user then stated, "Something might go bad tomorrow. This could possibly be my last moments alive." Finally, user stated, "As far as I know, there's a list of people that are going to get shot. I hope I ain't on it." Both of these leads were immediately investigated by federal law enforcement and found to have no validity and no relation to Newtown. 2. At December 14, 2012, search of the Stamford residence of Peter Lanza, the father of the shooter, was conducted with the FBI. Some illegal fireworks were seized and secured. After consultation with David I. Cohen, the state's attorney for the Judicial District of Stamford-Norwalk, and based on all of the circumstances involved, this state's attorney has decided to exercise his discretion and not prosecute Mr. Lanza for possession of the fireworks, which are in no way related to the events of December 14, 2012. The shooter had tried to buy ammunition at a Dick's Sporting Goods store. Store security surveillance videos were recovered and reviewed. None of the individuals depicted in the videos appear to be the shooter or connected to shooter. 4. A person called the police indicating that the shooter had tried to rent a room from her and indicated he was having problems with his mother. This proved to be unsubstantiated after an investigation. Some callers indicated that they chatted with the shooter online in postings. These postings were determined to be false. 6. Numerous citizens in Newtown received calls on their telephones with messages left saying, "I am and I am going to kill you." It was determined that these calls were made from out of state and the investigation is ongoing. Preliminary investigation results established that the callers were not associated with the shooter. 7. CSP investigated a lead that the shooter went to Newtown High School before going to Shees. In the course of this investigation, one parent refused to let her high school child be interviewed by police and related that a friend of the child had told the child they saw the shooter in the parking lot before the shooting. A review of Newtown High School video did not substantiate this claim. 8. There were reports of the shooter being at SES on December 12, 2012, that were investigated and found not to be substantiated. 9. A report that a man claimed that while in Oklahoma, a woman told him about the planned shooting before the shooting occurred. Federal law enforcement investigated this and found that it could not be true. Determinations of crimes committed. In the course of his rampage, the shooter committed a number of state crimes. The most significant are those where lives were taken and people were specifically injured. At Sandy Hook Elementary School, the crime of murder under special circumstances in violation of CGS SEC. 53A to 54B was committed murder under special circumstances in violation of CGSSS. 53A to 49 and 53A to 54B was committed twice as it relates to the two individuals who were shot and survived. These crimes reflect the killings of the children and adults, as well as those physically injured. 159, the crime of murder in violation of CGS SEC. 53A to 54A was committed by the shooter in killing his mother at 36 Yogananda Street. Also listed are other major crimes committed by the shooter on December 14, 2012 to 61. The major felonies committed by the shooter in this case are murder with special circumstances, attempted murder with special circumstances, assault in the first degree 3, 53A to the evidence, burglary in the first degree, risk of injury to a minor, possession of a weapon on school grounds. Carrying a pistol without a permit. The crimes listed above all require some type of mental state, whether it is a specific intent, knowledge, or a general intent to do the prohibited act. The intent to kill for the crime of murder can be seen in the circumstantial evidence such as the type of weapon used, the manner in which it was used, the type of wounds inflicted, and the events leading to and immediately following the deaths, as well as with the shooter, intending the natural consequences of his voluntary acts. Here the intent is clear from the evidence that the shooter intentionally armed himself heavily, drove to Shees, parked in a manner out of direct sight of the front door, shot his way into the building, and immediately killed those who confronted him, as well as those in classrooms 8 and 10. The evidence found at his home on the digital media further support his intentions to kill, both at the school and with his mother. Further, the manner in which he killed his mother reflects the shooter's intent to kill her. Murder with special circumstances is met both in the killing of the children and in the killing of more than one person at the same time. In this case, the shooter's mental status is no defense to his conduct. As the evidence shows, he knew his conduct to be against the law. He had the ability to control his behavior to obtain the results he wanted, including his own death. This evidence includes his possession of materials related to mass murders, his removal of the GPS from his car, his utilization of earplugs, the damaging of the hard drive and waiting for his mother's return from New Hampshire. The existence of an extreme emotional disturbance for which there is a reasonable explanation or excuse is also not present in this case. It is clear that the shooter planned his crimes in advance and was under no extreme emotional disturbance for which there was a reasonable explanation or excuse. Conclusion. With the issuance of this report, the investigation is closed. If additional reliable information, related to the existence of others' involvement in the case, comes to the attention of the investigators, it is subject to being reopened. I do not anticipate that occurring. As of now, there will be no state prosecution of anyone as an accessory or co-conspirator. Many people have asked why the shooter did what he did on December 14, 2012. Or, in the vernacular of the criminal justice system, did he have a motive to do what he did? This investigation, with the substantial information available, does not establish a conclusive motive. What we do know is that the shooter had significant mental health issues that, while not affecting the criminality of the shooter's mental state for the crimes or his criminal responsibility for Thean, did affect his ability to live a normal life and to interact with others, even those to whom he should have been close. Whether this contributed in any way is unknown. The shooter did not recognize or help himself deal with those issues. He had a familiarity with and access to firearms and ammunition and an obsession with mass murders, in particular the Columbine shootings. There is no clear indication why Sandy Hook Elementary School was selected, other than perhaps its close proximity to the shooter's home. What is clear is that on the morning of December 14, 2012, the shooter intentionally committed horrendous crimes, murdering 20 children and 6 adults in a matter of moments, with the ability and intention of killing even more. He committed these heinous acts after killing his own mother. The evidence indicates the shooter planned his actions, including the taking of his own life. It is equally clear that law enforcement arrived at Sandy Hook Elementary School within minutes of the first shots being fired. They went into the school to save those inside with the knowledge that someone might be waiting to take their lives. It is also clear that the staff of Sandy Hook Elementary School acted heroically in trying to protect the children. The combination saved many children's lives. November 25, 2013. Stephen Sedensky III, State's Attorney. Acknowledgements. Over the course of the last 11 months, many agencies, governmental and private, have come together to assist the victims' families, victims, first responders, others affected by the crimes, the Connecticut State Police, and the state's attorney's office for the Judicial District of Danbury. I wish to thank the below agencies, listed alphabetically, for their investigative work, cooperation, and assistance in this investigation. Though I have tried to list all of the agencies that provided assistance to the investigation, I suspect some will be inadvertently left out. For this, I apologize. Connecticut State Police, and in particular Western District Major Crime Squad, Connecticut Intelligence Center, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection Forensic Science Laboratory, Faculty of Finding Words Connecticut, A Child First State, Family and Children's Aid of Danbury, Federal Bureau of Investigation, including Victim Services and Behavior Analysis Units, Gunderson Health System's National Child Protection Training Center, Hoboken, New Jersey, Police Department, Homeland Security, Municipal Police Departments in Connecticut, Newtown Police Department, Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, Office of the Chief State's Attorney, 76. State of Connecticut Judicial Branch, United States Attorney's Office for the District of Connecticut, United States Drug Enforcement Agency, United States Marshals Service. I would also like to thank the members of the Danbury State's Attorney's Office, in particular, Supervisory Assistant State's Attorney Warren Murray and Inspectors Donald Brown and John Mahoney for their assistance and support. The Western District Crime Squad, under the leadership of Lieutenant David Delvecchia, investigated this case with a thoroughness and sensitivity that is unmatched in my experience. Connecticut is a child first state whose one-week program, Finding Words Connecticut, interviewing children and preparing for court, is funded by the Governor's Task Force on Justice for Abused Children. 74 Family and Children's Aid of Danbury hosts the multidisciplinary investigation team. 75% this includes FBI agents across the country who sought out evidence and interviewed witnesses in many states. 76 Chief State's Attorney Kevin T. Kane's counsel and assistance has been an invaluable asset to me in this case, together with the assistance of those in his office who worked on the case. Federal Bureau of Investigation, page 70 other, sealed pursuant to court order. Page 180 other, sealed pursuant to court order. Page 185, page...
That was the official report from the FBI with all of the information from the initial arrival to their conclusion. We are approaching 3 hours going live, so I think I will note where we're at in part 2, and we will come back Saturday to finish part 2 and start part 3. And then I think that's it for Sandy Hook. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to go through the files and double check. But I know Mama and I both really appreciate all of you guys for hanging out and sticking with us through the long, tedious court documents. I know not all of them are super interesting or fun to look at or read, but we definitely appreciate you guys. And we hope that you all have a wonderful night. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all the things. And we appreciate all of you more than you know. Stay safe and have a great night.